You see the final score, we track the revenue stream. Welcome to the show that treats the sports world like the multi-billion-dollar business it is. We dissect the ownership deals, the television right battles, the NIL impact, and the media figures driving the entire narrative. From Wall Street to the locker room, we follow the money and the people who control the message. Welcome to Press Row, the business of sports, right here on the Empty the Bench Network. Now, here's your hosts, Callan McClurg and Nick Morgasen. It is a dog-eat-dog world in the sports business and media landscape as we once again, folks, welcome you into another episode. We've lost count of the episode number of Press Row. As always, your front row seat to the intersection of sports business and sports media right here on ETV. That man, of course, Nick Morgasen from Plainview, New York, Callan McClurg, and the furball Aussie here from San Diego on another beautiful Wednesday morning on the left coast or a early afternoon on the East Coast for January 14th. 2026. As always, gang, we are on social media. Make sure you follow us across your favorite social platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You're at Press Row ETV. Follow the network on Twitter, IG, and TikTok as well at ETV Network. And, of course, subscribe to us over at youtube.com/ETV Network. We are also there as well. Of course, Nick, another 3 hours coming up here. Another interview coming up at the bottom of the hour. And so much ground to cover, so little time. Mr. Morgasen, is always good to see you, my man. How are we doing today?
It's going to be a good show. We have WNBA drama to catch up on again, which is not a shocker for this show. But no, I'm good. I had a good lunch, so I have a lot of energy. I know it's early for you there, on the left coast.
Yeah.
But we got a lot to get into. The collapse of the MLB RSN model. Again, as we find out, another team, as we say, another one bites the dust.
Doon.
Michael Kay versus Pat McAfee. This story I just like because this is influence versus the J journalist. And then a great guest coming up for today's show. Mr. Bart Winkler, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We spoke to David Shepard last week and Keith McPherson last week. I'm on a good run right now when it comes to guests.
Look out, he's on fire.
And we'll tell you at the end of the show because I confirmed a guest for next week already. So we'll get into that, but we'll get into the Infinity Sports Network, Westwood One stuff again. He was part of the weekday lineup. So I think this is, don't get me wrong, Shep gave a lot of great insight he was there for all 13 years.
Correct.
Of the inception of that network. But Bart was I think he was there for like the last 2+ years, I want to say. He took over originally it was for Amy, and then it was for when JR moved up to 6 to 10 and Zach moved up to 3 to 6. He anchored to the 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern slot. I like Bart. Bart's a really good guy. He's not afraid to let it fly, which is the type of guys I like in this industry. So make sure you tune in for that interview. That will be live. It's not taped. So whatever you're hearing is going to be throw caution to the wind, as they say, in this business. Also, what else are we looking at here? Oh, Brooks Koepka back to the PGA Tour.
That whole thing is interesting.
I think the PGA Tour is gatekeeping a little bit there. What else have we got? Oh, we got a table tennis scandal. Yes, I did say that correctly. A table tennis scandal. Marcus Freeman and his son apparently at a wrestling meet. Which, can this guy stay out of the goddamn spotlight?
That would be nice.
Also, we'll get into the Milan 2026 Olympics, the arena crisis with the NHL players heading over for hockey at the Olympics. So, is the ice melting? Sounds like it. Also, NFL officiating, which actually wasn't too bad for the NFL wildcard round. So we got a lot to get into and very little time to get through it. 3 hours on this journey.
As always.
As we do, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time every Wednesday now. Now you have your anchored spot to find us. So
exactly.
Let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah. Again, Nick, this is the third week in a row that we've been following the story. We've gone from close to no one bidding to now, Nick, in another blow to the regional sports broadcasting model. The 9 now make it 10 Major League Baseball teams that were underneath contract with either Main Street Sports Group or now even with the Nationals within the last roughly 10 minutes, exercising their option to move on from Masson. But mainly the 9 teams affected, though, by the MSSG group, which operated FanDuel Sports Network, have basically all shredded their deals. That includes the Braves, Reds, Tigers, Royals, Angels, Marlins, Brewers, Cardinals, and Rays. Well, now, though, while renegotiations are technically possible, the termination was a defensive move by the clubs to avoid being trapped in potential bankruptcy court proceedings. This will put Major League Baseball in a position where they may have to produce and distribute local broadcasts for nearly half of their 30 teams with the upcoming season. Nick, if MLB is being forced to take over the production for 15-plus teams simultaneously this spring, does the loss, though, of guaranteed RSN right fees now signal a permanent downshift in player salaries for a mid-market franchise like the teams listed here, or as we have long said, though, Nick, about the Marlins being probably one of the more smaller market franchises, though, in all of Major League Baseball. But obviously, you haven't seen this yet. I don't think you will, though, with the Yankees and the Yes Network. The Dodgers won't see this, though, with Spectrum Sports in L.A. But any team, though, like, again, San Diego, Arizona, Colorado, the Reds, the Guardians, the Mariners, the first 6 teams who lost the TV rights. Now these 9 new teams, you factor in the Rangers going to the hybrid model of Victory Plus and local over-the-air TV. Now the Nationals parting ways with Masson. Nick, this is just going to become a bigger mess than it already has been right now for baseball, if you ask me, but your thoughts?
Yeah. About this whole situation with the RSNs, it's almost like Major League Baseball knew what they were doing in this scenario when it came to they're just going to take over all the broadcasting rights. First of all, the MLB model is broken when it comes to broadcasting. They're still stuck in the, we got to be local in every market and blah, 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 blah. The local RSN situation is just a completely farced model. And look at what the NFL is doing. Look at what the NBA is doing. I mean, the NHL is finally starting to catch on to it slightly. They're not there yet. But the national model is where everything is heading for broadcasting of games. Why do you think the NBA went to 7 days a week, technically, of national broadcasting? Now, but Nick, it's not 7 days of on TV. But yes, you have to remember that includes Peacock and Amazon and all that stuff. The NFL's doing it more than it ever has. And so I think MLB needs to realize that just this local RSN model is just not going to work anymore.
I mean, that's why I think they got out of Dodge when they did. Now, obviously, Nick, you brought up both the NBA local model and the NHL local model, where, again, there is a lot of talk, though, that the NBA franchises like the LA Clippers, who are already on FanDuel, SoCal, and West, the LA Kings were still on FanDuel West. They've been there since I think it launched in the 80s, that they're going to probably be, looking at their options very soon. Where I wonder, though, Nick, now we're talking about Major League Baseball here. What, though, Nick, probably would become the contingency plan, though, for basketball and hockey from your perspective, where, again, we've heard a lot of rumblings, though, that, at least the NBA is looking at this very closely. Haven't heard so much about the NHL looking at this very closely, but, obviously we know about what baseball is going to do. I think we have heard some spattering of chitter chatter that the NBA is ready to go with the League Pass launch, basically, much like what baseball has done to, still put the games on TV in some fashion. I wonder about what the NHL would do with maybe NHL Center Ice, NHL Network maybe takes over. But, Nick, maybe we'll go back to the baseball side of things in a second, though, but maybe about what the plan should be for a basketball team or a hockey team, as we've already heard, those some rumblings of what might come out of this, though, in the coming few months or when the season does things. I believe I remember saying that the local TV broadcasts no longer will cover the playoffs for the first round now in the NBA.
I don't know how true that is. I know in the NHL, the first round is local broadcasts.
Yes.
And then after the first round, it's completely national the rest of the way, which means it would be TNT and ESPN probably the rest of the way.
ABC, ESPN, TNT, rest of the way.
And I think ESPN, ABC has the Stanley Cup, right? If I'm not mistaken. Which
I don't know if they rotated anymore, but I think that they did at one point, and I think ESPN's numbers were better because not many people get TNT.
Well, I think ESPN bought the rights to the Stanley Cup. I think they paid more,
but so.
That was causing a whole rift because of the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup being at the same time, and they had to rotate the networks back and forth. But I don't know. I mean, baseball. NBA has a better model for it because most of their content is nationally based. When you look at all their players are considered national based. When you look at Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and other players. Luka, it's all national platform.
SGA.
Right. They're looked at from a national platform basis. That's how they're looked at.
Agreed.
Major League Baseball, they're still looking at everything from a local market basis. They're still running blackouts on games. I don't think the NBA runs blackout on games. I don't think the NFL runs blackouts on games. I mean, that's the problem. They got to stop with the blackouts. That's number one. They got to figure that out in baseball. Are they going to do that? I don't think so. And like you said, the Yankees with the S Network, the Mets with SNY, the Dodgers, the Angels, even though they stink right now.
Oh, and they're one of the teams that's losing the RSN deal with FanDuel Sports.
Okay. The Cubs, the White Sox, Phillies,
Chicago Sports, NBC Sports.
All those are not going to lose there's too much money in it for them to continue to do those games. Now, the difference on the Yankee model is that they have a deal with Prime Video, with Amazon, that it's starting to flip the ratio of games. At one point, I think it was 100 games on Yes and 60 plus games on
Prime Video.
Well, not just Prime Video, but like national games and but more Prime Video games. I think you're going to start seeing that number flip.
And don't the Mets do the same thing where they go between SNY and WPIX 11?
I think the Yankees and the Mets do that. I think.
I know the Yankees did that though with My 9 TV though in New York as well. I think for like Sunday afternoon games usually.
Well, the Mets and the Yankees both were on My 9 and then Pix 11, and then you had the weird issue where the Subway Series game was on Pix 11. Who the hell calls the game?
Oh, that's right.
So they ran into that situation. I don't know how you fix it, but I don't think that's happened at all lately. Now they're taking like the big games and they're saying local affiliate station, like
Fox
they both
national for Saturday, ESPN or NBC for Sunday.
Right. So that's what's happening with a lot of those big series now. You get one local game. That's usually how it works.
And then everything else is national.
Which sucks for the people who watch the games, and that's all they do. But everything is now national. And unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. And people are saying, and this was a problem, if you remember over the last couple of years with the playoffs, people say, they should create an alternate broadcast with the local broadcasters so that I don't have to hear the stinking national voices when they're doing the game. Guys, it's not that simple. It's not.
I mean, I love the idea, though, of Peacock having that feature where you can mute the broadcast team.
Well, it's not confirmed yet.
I know that would be a game changer, but I don't know if that would actually go very well.
But I like the one where you can lower the crowd noise. I kind of like that one a little bit because then you can actually hear more of what's going on. Maybe you hear what the broadcasters actually say, but I don't know how you fix this because
I don't know either.
MLB is too localized. They got to get out of the mindset of local. The Yankees Yes Network, the Mets SNY, Dodgers here, Cubs here, Phillies here. And the problem is the Yankees are not going to give up the Yes Network. The Mets are not going to give up SNY.
The Dodgers won't give up Spectrum, and the Cubs won't let go of Marquee.
There's too much money. They purposely went into business that way because they own the network of where their games are on. Now, MLB still has control over the national games, and so they can't take every single game. But imagine if the team said, "Screw you! I don't need Major League Baseball to do all the work, and we'll just broadcast all the games." They're not going to do that because that's going to cost them a ton of money,
right?
But this model is completely broken. They got to figure out how to fix this local model. They're not, and until they do, they're not going to get up to the NBA and the NFL level.
As if there's not enough problems in baseball going on. Nick, let's switch gears, though, to another riff going on between a couple of ESPN personalities in some way, but Yankees broadcaster and ESPN New York radio host Michael Kay spent a good chunk of 20 minutes on his show on Monday, firing back at ESPN college football, college game day analyst, and, of course, midday talk show host Pat McAfee, who recently labeled traditional sports journalists as being curmudgeon bums who hate sports. McAfee's rant was sparked by a viral comment where a reporter offered encouragement to Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen rather than asking him a hard-hitting question. Kay defended the honor of journalism, stating that not everybody who tries to do their job is evil. Though Kay praised McAfee's celebratory formula for ESPN, he did warn, though, that attacking those who ask the tough questions is a dangerous trend that mirrors the deterioration of information seen in the political world. But, Nick, when one of ESPN's most tenured voices like Michael Kay calls opposing Pat McAfee professional suicide, has ESPN now officially reached a point now where the entertainers like McAfee hold more institutional power than the regular journalists that are a part of the ESPN family of networks? Your thoughts?
This is influencer versus typical media journalist. This is what we're talking about here. Unfortunately, the business is kind of flipped in that regard, where if you have influence and you have a big following, then that's all the networks care about now. It's no longer about putting out good content. It's no longer about doing good journalism, which there's plenty of people that still do it. But Pat McAfee's got a following. To him, he basically said, screw journalism. I don't need that. I'm going to just get great guests and tell great stories, which, again, that works too. There's different ways to peel the onion, so to speak. And that's why an onion has layers, because you can pull out the different things that you like. But I think McAfee just totally insulting the journalism profession is not right in some aspects. And I get it. I don't love traditional journalism in some aspects, because they say, well, you have to report on this thing and you have to do it a certain way. And if you don't do it the right way, then we have to call your ass out for not saying it a certain way. That's why I'm in the middle of it, on both sides. So I believe it in two different aspects, in two different ways. If you want to tell a journalistic story, fine. If you want to do a fun outside-the-box story, I'm okay with that too. But I don't think it's right to call it out.
Why do we insist on gatekeeping? It was a very much in the moment. It was 18 seconds. It wasn't like it was a prolonged question. It was a simple 18-second story, question. And obviously, Nick,
Actually,
that the back.
We should tell people what we're talking about. You want to tell them?
We're talking about, I believe, Lynn Jones-Turpin, who has been with the Jacksonville Free Press for over 30 years, getting her start in 1986. One of the best female black journalists within Jacksonville County, who has been working with the publication. And all she did was basically give Liam Cohen a little nice pat on the back, despite the fact that his team lost. And since then, though, Nick, she has kind of in a way had to make the rounds to defend her credentials, just for the fact of a 18-second generous thing she said to Liam Cohen, who looked like he was about ready to cry, Nick, because he's like, I didn't expect this to come, in a way.
Yeah. I just don't know. To call it professional suicide, I just find that crazy.
I find it crazy because I think, Nick, that too often, more than not, and I think I've seen this more locally here in San Diego, since the Padres actually turned a corner in 2019, 2020, where now the media and now even, Nick, the fan base, actually we the Padres actually have expectations of getting to the World Series. We've, my lifetime, we've never had expectations. Okay, maybe other than 98 and maybe 84. But now there's a onus to now hold people accountable and not just, sugarcoat things when the team's, 75 and 83 or whatever, and they don't make the post. Like, hey, we'll get him next year. Like, now people here demand answers. They want people held accountable. They want Machado and Tatis held to a higher standard when they, suck in the postseason versus the Cubs in the, this past season or whatnot. And, it's like kind of cool to see, but also like, wait a minute here. Like, what are we doing? In this instance, though, Nick, I think you're right, though, more than anything else. But I think nowadays, Nick, you don't really have to have the journalism background now to sadly get into the industry, which kind of in a way it's a very much like double-edged sword. Like, I know that McAfee, former player, this would go to like the whole thing about Ryan Clark wanting to jump Peter Schrager. Hey, I played this game. What have you done with your life? Basically, you never have been in the trenches, basically. The same people who sound off about Mina Kimes and Laura Rutledge talking about the NFL. Like, you've never played football. How would you know about breaking down a 3-4 defense or a 4-6 defense? Exactly. But that's kind of what I'm getting at in a way. But to spend 20 minutes, though, Nick, as Michael Kay did, to basically, and I will agree with Michael Kay, though, Nick, on one thing. Not every writer, not every host, not every personality in our industry is evil when they ask a hard-hitting question. It's trying to fill the newspaper, trying to fill the column, basically, on the website, or to fill an hour or two on local radio the following day. So I get what you're saying, though, that it's definitely, where do we stand? We're both kind of in the middle of it, though. Well, I just wish, though, that people would stop taking what was said, though, by Lynn Jones-Turpin and taking out of context for what she had said.
It's interesting what you bring up about the journalism side, because like Zan, our colleague Zan, which you'll hear on Bandos Breakdowns Friday and on Zinger on Sunday, he's kind of in a in-between situation right now, currently, when it comes to kind of fulfilling a quota.
Yes.
And we've talked about that before, where how frustrating it is that it's not about what I'm writing. It's, I have to fill this many pieces throughout the day, and I only get paid based on the views. You're not getting a salary. You're not getting
it's not hourly. It's not salary. It's by how many people,
traffic.
How many people read it or view it.
And that's the problem with the industry going on currently. But what I don't agree with, and I love McAfee. I think McAfee does great content. I love that he's outside the box. I love that he gets up on and stands on the chair where they have to hold his two legs so he doesn't go over the side of the wall where the College Game Day set is, and he rips the shirt off. It's WWE, which he did, and it's fun.
And that's for and by the way, that was a guy who was a punter, ladies and gentlemen, not a quarterback, not a linebacker. That's a guy who was a punter doing all this.
Right. So I'm totally fine. And he gets all the big interviews, which is cool. Excuse me. And like, he gets all the big names, which is hard because a lot of big athletes don't want to go on the big, like on Get Up or all those type of shows. They just don't want to do it.
You don't want to put up with the nonsense.
But for McAfee to call traditional sports journalists curmudgeon bums. Hi, Christy. I think that was a step a little too far, I think. And
yeah, I mean, I partially agree, but I also, in a way, agree with him a little bit, though. But sometimes the ego gets in the way, like, hey, my name is so-and-so. Like, just for example, in a way, and I don't mean this in the wrong way, that'd be like, hey, my name is Tim Kalishaw, the Dallas Morning News. Please respect and answer my question. Which I know, that Kalishaw would never do that, but that's just like someone who came into my head.
I hate during the Super Bowl when they do the scrum. Hi, my name is such and such from this paper or this media. Or why do you have to say your name and where you're from? Who cares?
I know it's kind of like PR 101. Please state your name and your publication, but does that have to be like an everyday occurrence or every time occurrence?
No, but the only reason they're doing that is because there could be other potential video media there that if you ask the viral question and it causes an athlete to go off, you want the credit if the question was asked. That's what that whole thing.
Whoop-de-doo.
Who cares? Like, I
can go sit in my backyard and rant about the WNBA and get 20,000 TikTok views and a shitload of comments, bashing me for talking about for me bashing or for me talking about women's basketball.
Your soccer video,
the Landon Donovan video, is still going haywire. Yeah,
and more actually. But Or my video about how I went off on
Joe Davis.
Joe Davis, which now between the two videos has like 200,000 TikTok views. Like, and by the way, I'm not bringing that up for numbers reasons, as you and I talked
it's
about.
just about that, as you were saying, though. Hey, my name's Nick Morgasen of the Empty the Bench Network, and you asked, the best hard hitting, out of the box, comical question, and it gets 1 million views on TikTok, for example.
When we talk to Bart, hopefully in the next couple minutes, you really think I'm going to sit here and ask the boring, nerdy? Well, I might ask a few of those, but like, I'm not going to ask the standard question. That's boring. Like, I want to know more of what happened behind the scenes, not necessarily what happened on air.
And by the way, folks, we actually have part of the audio and video from our interview last week with former ISN host and one of his teammates, David Shepard, where, of course, Nick, we had talked a lot at length the week prior about the Jason Barrett TMZ style hit piece that was published about Bart's 10-minute sign-off. We'll talk about that with Bart here in about roughly, I'd say, 4 to 6 minutes, probably here at the bottom of the hour. Ask again about, the over-indexing of sports gambling content now taking over, actually talking about wins and losses and about games, going from local to national radio, how, how much of a dynamic that is and whatnot going forward. But I think, though, Nick, more importantly, it's, how am I not surprised, though, as well, though, Nick? It's another day, though, where like it's a ESPN story, or like ESPN employee versus ESPN employee, though, again, that has this, 20-minute exchange, though, with Michael Kay on ESPN Radio New York. Again, 20 whole minutes to talk about Pat McAfee crapping on the journalistic integrity of people.
You know what it is, though? He knows that if he talks about Pat McAfee, it's going to go everywhere, because Pat McAfee is a
polarizing figure.
But it's an algorithm name. So if he talks about it, look, it made it as a story on Awful Announcing.
Right.
Like, and by the way, for anyone who doesn't know Awful Announcing, if you're in the sports industry, you don't know Awful Announcing, that's a different issue. But Awful Announcing does all the media stories and like all the business. Like what we do, we're kind of a version of Awful Announcing, but in a more professional standard. But
they do have some really great content, so please go support their work.
Yeah, no, they're great. Don't get me wrong. But like when he did that, what do you think happened? All the trades picked it up.
Oh yeah.
I think even though I believe and I strongly support the fact that what his opinion means, but he knew what he was doing at the same time. That if I talk about Pat McAfee, my name will get attached to Pat McAfee. And watch. Do you remember when Don LaGreca did the rant on Evan Neal about the burger flipping situation, or no?
I don't think so.
So Evan Neal of the Giants came out and was mad with the fans, and he said, they're a bunch of burger flippers.
Oh, okay. Now that yes. Okay.
And that led to a viral rant, which then ended up on McAfee's show because he loved it so much. I guarantee you, McAfee's probably going to go after Kay, probably in some way.
Sadly, Nick, because we're kind of in like a retribution, got to get even revenge society in this space, it would not shock me one bit if that happened. To be very frank, just with where, you take a shot at McAfee, Nick, it's like poking the bear.
That's what the story said. Actually, on Awful Announcing. Don't do it. You're poking the bear in a lot of ways. I don't understand it. I don't know why. But McAfee's going to beat you every time because he doesn't. Remember, he's a former football player.
And I think, Nick, more importantly, didn't the McAfee show, when Pat said went on the tangent about, calling them bums and hating sports, didn't that outdraw Stephen A. Smith's didn't it outview Stephen A. Smith's first take on Monday?
I think it did, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Christy. Don't do it.
The funny part is, so LeBron James, who hates going on traditional media, he went on Pat McAfee's show, but he refuses to go on First Take, which I don't blame him, by the way.
I mean, hey, you can see which one about LeBron. Hey, I don't blame him for that.
But it's weird that he's willing to go on McAfee's show. But I guess the difference is because it's licensed, it's controlled, even though it's airing on ESPN. So McAfee controls the narrative in a lot of ways. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me either.
Right.
But we'll see what happens with it. But this story is just a little bit insane because, and as our guest is ready to join us, you want to do a little intro for?
Yeah, sure thing. So again, folks, for the second week in a row, we are still unpacking and looking back on the merger between ISN to Westwood One. It is our sincere honor and privilege to welcome on another former host of ISN, all the way from the 414 in Milwaukee. The one and only Bart Winkler joins us here on Press Row. Bart, Callan, McClurg in San Diego, Nick Morgasen in New York. Great to see you, man. Thanks for taking the time out of the day to join us. How you doing today?
Yeah, good. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for your kind words over the last few weeks. Doing good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Thanks for asking, my man. Appreciate you.
Good. So let's kind of start here. And we spoke to David Shepard last week. We talked about ISN, and we'll play a clip for you later because he actually defended you against the Barrett article, which we'll talk about. So. Which we'll talk about a little bit later. But
oh, don't worry, he did.
I guess take us back to when you heard the news about ISN and the unfortunate news of it closing. What was kind of the feeling when you heard that news when it happened?
I think just this whole process was different. Not saying that any process is wrong or right, and I don't know what you're supposed to do. Radio a lot of times feels like a normal job, and a lot of times it doesn't. And I've been part of a layoff before where the whole station went away. And that was, hey, by the way, the station's done right now. So no chance to say goodbye, questions from listeners, having to, field that. And that's no fun. And so at least we had a couple of months to kind of close out how we wanted, to kind of start to look for other opportunities. I think a lot of us, at least I did, thought that there could still be a new opportunity. That part was unclear with the new Westwood One network, which for a lot of us it wasn't. But a lot of times I kept thinking of and I started watching Stephen Colbert differently. Like, this is a guy that knows he's done in June or July, and he's still going out there and he's still putting on shows. And, I thought after the first couple of shows, they'd be a little more edgy and different. Maybe he starts to crumble towards the end like I did. But it's just a really weird thing to know that, to first of all, know that you're going away, but not knowing what's going to replace you, not knowing if you have a shot at that, and then not knowing what's next. So if you're like a radio programmer that is going to move on from your entire staff, I don't know what way I would recommend you do it based on both ways that it's happened to me. I guess I would recommend don't ever move on from your entire staff, probably.
I mean, very fair, Bart. Again, folks, Bart Winkler, formerly of ISN, joins us here this morning / afternoon in Milwaukee and in New York here on Press Row. Bart, we talked to Shep though last Wednesday, and we obviously are entering a new space now in sports talk radio, sports content in general, where now the marketplace is getting away from, Packers lose to the Bears after blowing it, for example, to now, well, the Bears, hit on this parlay, they hit on that parlay, this, that, so on and so forth. And, the oversaturation of the sports content market is now being run basically about, it's got to be all about gambling 24/7, 365. And just for a disclaimer again, our network used to work with a prediction market called Novig within the last several months, though, but we had to sever ties because I live in California. You say the word gambling out here, it's almost like a death sentence out here in Southern California, across the state. They also left New York, though, at 3:00 in the morning, and we were told by a former host of our platform about them leaving New York, and we got a very much, unprofessional yawn emoji when we said our 3-part, statement, hey, thanks for the help, though, and we got, kind of kicked in the nuts by the whole thing. But I guess, though, Bart, long story short, though, with Westwood One, though, leaning so heavily now into the gambling and betting content, do you believe, though, that the industry is over-indexing the gambling market at the expense, though, of how how the three of us operate, though? Talk about the game. Don't worry about the over-under not hitting on a particular sporting event.
Well, I think, the fact that they announced Rome and then the 2 shows around it, I think that was the perception right away. Now, I do think, and I want to say this about the Westwood guys, I think a lot of them are doing a pretty good job. Great job. I think, I don't think that, I don't think that like they were offered a job and they took it. And I have listened to Drake and I've listened to Josh and I love Linnell and I've been tight with Nick for a while, Costas. So I like a lot of these guys. And I'll tell you what Nick's done is on the You Better You Bet show. They talk a lot obviously about lines and stuff. And he also talks about sports. So he's going to give you that. Pat Boyle's another guy I like a lot. They'll do that. But I do think the way that it's presented right away with not having any of their other shows presented is that, okay, what is going on here? I can tell you my answer to your question is yes. I think that we are too heavily focused on the gambling. I think that it has affected how sports are viewed and it's affected how sports are broadcast. I don't like when Al Michaels is calling a game and says, well, this might matter to some.
Yes.
Just say like the over's 40. Like you can say that. Okay. Yeah. The over's 42. People are going to that's fine. But I don't need I watch the UFL.
Yeah.
Or XFL, whatever. And they'll keep going to, the lady in the studio and she'll be like, all right, here's where we're at now. It's 3.5 spread. And then the announcers will talk about it and bring it up. And it's like, that's too much. I don't want like DeAndre Hopkins caught his 3rd catch. He hit the over. I don't want that from the broadcast. But I also don't want them to ignore that, okay, it's 42-0. Nobody's watching this game anymore unless they have some money on it. I don't like that a lot of the players, the over-unders, these gambling scandals. Emmanuel Clase is throwing balls because he knows he's good enough to still strike the guy out. Because it's the over-unders and that you can bet on everything. The prediction markets are out of control.
Agreed.
Every other person I see with a Twitter account has one of those logos by their name.
Yeah. Yes.
That's too much. It's too much. So the answer is yes, it is too much. And the way I've always done it is I feel like if you're going to do that, you have to package it. Like I'll do a pick segment. This is a pick segment. If you don't like it, come back later. I don't like talking about, I just feel like I've heard from many more people that would have called in and say, I don't like this gambling stuff. I don't care about the over-unders, than I've heard from people that say, I want more of that. So I can only talk about how I do my own show. But I do think, the industry, when you have these breaking news stories and then ESPN Bet comes at the bottom of a gambling scandal and they quietly take it away. And then ESPN Bet that was in your face for 7 months is quietly gone for DraftKings. It's just, it is too much. And I think that while sports gambling can enhance your enjoyment of a sporting game, it shouldn't be the only reason why you like sports. So the industry has to find out how to balance that. It has not. And I think it's going to bankrupt a lot of people before it does.
No, I totally agree. Gambling has gone absolutely crazy.
Not that I don't do it.
Agreed. We all do.
I lost money on the Bucks last night.
No, I get
Unless
that.
you live in California and you can't.
Yeah. But I want to ask about that 10-minute segment, that last one that I saw you video and put up on social media. I had no problem with what you did in that last 10-minute segment. Apparently, some people had a problem with it otherwise, including a certain Barrett Sports Media site, which I think we've all had our anger with. Can you kind of just go through kind of the thought process of that last segment? I know, like you were saying goodbye to Infinity Sports Network and the fans, but I don't know. I thought people overreacted to your last segment.
Yeah, so it was 10 minutes, as you brought up, and I think I didn't spend maybe as much time thanking people that I've never met as I should have. And I think one of the criticisms was that, okay, that's one thing. But I think the main criticism from that article which I didn't understand. And I don't mind, like, yes, I'm in the public space. I criticize on my show. If you want to criticize me, that's fine. I think the criticism that the article had was this might hurt himself for future employers. And that was the last kind of people that I was thinking about at that point. And I still don't understand. So here's how I could have done it. Okay. I don't really put any of that show for 2 years. We were not streaming audio or video.
Right.
We were a true radio show.
Mm-hmm.
There was like no advertising. We came on a bunch of stations, 150 some after games, whatever, after your favorite show. And I like that the way to listen to me on the radio was to be listening to the radio. And that's how you found the show. I felt like we were a true late night call-in radio show, the kind that, I had grown up with. So I liked that part of it. Not that I don't like and understand the social media component. I have a podcast that I've done a lot of that on, but with that show, I thought, I don't know, just the nature of it. I thought I'm going to put this on video. I'm going to put this 10 minutes on video, see what happens with it, and just let people, kind of see as I'm talking. And I wanted to make sure that I thanked everybody that had helped me get to that point, which I did. I wanted to make sure to thank the fans, which I did. I wanted to thank the listeners, which I did. And I think, like, one of the things with that is now this was almost a month ago. And I think a lot of the listeners, I think a lot of people that said they're never going to listen again, I think they're still listening. And they might start calling in again. And that's fine. I just thought when this decision was being made, you are being taken for granted that your ears will still be there. And it doesn't matter if it's the guy or a new guy, we still think you're going to be here. And if people are going to prove them right, then they made a great business decision. But I just felt like nobody is thinking of what you guys like and what you guys have responded to for a while. The other thing I thought from my perspective was it had been 2 months since I found out. It certainly had been a month and a half since people knew in the industry what was happening. It was at least 3-4 weeks since it felt like everybody started to know. And it's not like my inbox was filling up with, hey, we might like you later on. Once your thing ends up, give us a call. And so I guess what I did was go into business for myself by just saying, like, this is who I am. And I'm going to continue to broadcast from my basement for as long as I can make that work. But this is who I am. If somebody's interested, you're interested. If you're not, you're not. But the last thing I was going to do was try to suck up for a job that I didn't think was coming anyway. There's so few jobs. And I'm in a market in Milwaukee where while this was happening to me, another station just completely shut down during. So there go 20 jobs that are possibly available. So I had to look at that like this may be the last time I ever have a regular radio show again. And if that's the case, do I want to look back and say, I wish I would have said that? Or would I rather look back and say, people don't like that I said that, but I'm sure glad I did. And that's the route that I win with. Now, is there a programmer that was ready to call me and then they're like hesitant and then they read an article and they're like, yeah, forget it. We don't want Bart Winkler. I do not believe so. If somebody wants to prove me wrong, operators are standing by. But I don't believe I did myself any harm because I don't think there was any harm to be done is basically how I felt about that.
I thought it was funny also in some of the articles that I was reading about ISN that they didn't even get your time slot correct where you were on the radio at times, where your slot, like they were saying you were a weekend host in some articles. So it would be nice if they got the accuracy of the story correct a little bit.
I've complained before. There's been articles that have said like, hey, it's ISN with Megan Perloff, Bill Ryder, Rich Eisen, Zach Gelb, JR, Pat Boyle, and others.
That's the one I'm talking about. I heard you say that. Yeah,
I'm others. Me and the weekend guys. I'm others. Okay.
You and
Yeah.
Shep.
Well, actually, and I'm glad you brought Shep up. I want to play the clip from the last episode because he defended you in a big way. So I'll let you see the clip.
Bart Winkler does his show, and the show is 97% gratitude. Now, as a host, I'm not going to comment on how he signs off. That's his decision. But I do know that 97% of it was full of respect for the audience, respect for his bosses,
Positivity.
and gratitude for the opportunity. And that wasn't brought up.
Correct.
So what is Jason trying to accomplish? Like, is he writing an article to stage someone that he doesn't have necessarily a great relationship with? And would he do that if it was someone who attended his summits, or someone that had previously wrote for him, or someone that he had on his podcast? I don't think he would have done that.
Fair.
That was not fair what he did.
Correct.
At all. Bart's show was about thanking the audience, thanking management, thanking Infinity. And yeah, it's not up to me to say whether or not he should have commented on the tone of that meeting in October, but that's how he chose to sign off. Now, if Jason wants to include that, that's his business.
Correct.
He said it for the public dissemination and airwaves, fair game.
Yes.
But where's the article about the connections that Bart made with his audience? Where's the article about, in the 2 short years Bart was at Infinity, the kind of companionship that he would provide so many people, driving 12 hours on end? Where was that article? And that's disappointing. Listen, I've been a national host for 5 years. Barrett's never written about me, ever, not once. Fine. If they you want to choose who you want to write about based on the relationships you have, that's your business. But if you're gonna write about somebody, be fair-minded about what you're putting out there. And that was a hit job.
So that's what he said about you. So I thought you'd want to hear that because he said that last week.
No, he sent me the clip. Don't worry about that.
Yes,
Oh, he did.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
He's like, was this too hard? I go, harder for me, David. Draw blood for me, David.
Yes.
But I don't know. I've read Barrett over the years. I think he does some stuff okay, but now I feel like he's become too relationship based with a lot of his stuff that he writes about. He just did a whole.
Nick, we can say it. He's been ball washing. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. So
I don't want to make anybody that might be looking to hire me mad, so I'm going to be nice here and respectful today. I will tell you this, though. I just did a podcast on this because I don't want Matt LaFleur to continue coaching my team, the Green Bay Packers. But I am seeing almost a coordinated campaign from all these people that have jobs in TV to all of a sudden talk about how great Matt LaFleur is as a head coach. And I've been ragging on Adam Schefter for a long time because it's clear that these guys get to a level where then to stay at that level or to get to a higher level, relationships do play a factor. I mean, I've done even in the smallest of town radio where we advertised for one fast food place and I said the name of another fast food place in one of those like, hey, coming up the show, we got this, and the new McRib is back, and then it's like,
How dare you?
Our client doesn't know, and it's like, oh my God, no one knew there was a McRib until I said something about it. So I think like relationships and content can be tainted even at the very, granular level of the business. But I do think, once you get higher up the ladder or wherever, the people are going to look out for you and they are going to write or comment or talk about you a certain way based on the relationship you have. And I don't want to be guilty of that either, but I mean, I'd probably stick up for my friends. It's hard, but it happens a lot. And I think where I wish people could get to, because this is what I was always talking about with Schefter, is you can process this information or you can take in the information, but process it. Just try to understand, why is this being reported the way it's being reported? Why is this being written the way it's being written? is there anybody with a bias here? And bias doesn't need to be left wing, right wing. Bias can just be like, I met that guy once, thought he was kind of a jerk. I don't like him. Bias can be anything. So where is the person writing from? Why are they doing that? Why are they talking about it that way? And really, once I talk about it like that, it's like, who do you trust? I mean, I don't want to be super conspiracy man, but who do you trust? Because everybody's always got something that they're thinking about when they put out the content they're putting out.
Now, I just want to clarify one thing. So, did you ever have a conversation like with Bruce Gilbert and Westwood One about doing a show, or was that not even a remote thing, or did you have a conversation about doing a show there?
We had all talked with them. Some people more than others. I certainly didn't have the extensive talks that like Zach had.
Right.
I was basically told no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So I was a quick no. Then I thought I was maybe still a yes, but then I was a no.
Man, oh man. All right. Again, folks, Bart Winkler joining us here again, longtime former host of the Infinity Sports Network here on Press Row for January 14th. Obviously, Bart, you know, it's one thing though, I think for somebody in Milwaukee, and I believe just to kind of, I think, clarify, or I'm trying to put everything together. That was WRNW, I believe, 97.3, the game that switched formats back to top 40, I think, in like the Admirals, the Packers. I think the Brewers may have lost their deal on that side. I know that WTMJ is the regular, I think, Brewers station, I believe, if I can remember putting my stations back together. But I guess for someone, though, like you growing up in Milwaukee, I know it's Bob Uecker is here. Everybody else is down below in a way. But maybe how did you carve out your path, though, or what made you want to get into this industry, though, when you were growing up, though, watching, you know, probably the Packers win all the time in a way, the Brewers and their runs, the Bucks obviously winning in 21. But where kind of though did you get your start, though, or what made you pursue sports announcing, broadcasting, you know, living in a market like Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
I wanted to be on SportsCenter. I wanted to be that guy. So I got my start in television. That's what I went to school for. I kind of dismissed the radio aspect of it, even though in my bedroom growing up, I did radio shows on probably burned through 100 cassettes.
Yes.
Which then, like when you're 11 and 12, you're doing these shows, and then you're 15 and you're like, that's embarrassing. So you tape over them. And I wish I had them still, but I don't. So I went to TV, and I wanted to get into sports, and I shot football games, and I, you know, tried to put my resume tape together, and I applied for jobs, and we had an opening, and my boss basically told me she didn't see me as a sports guy. So I got stuck in news, and then I was tired of talking to people after their families were killed in car accidents. So I moved back home. I grew up just north of Milwaukee. There's like a small radio station there, and they needed somebody to turn the dials during high school sports games. And then they realized I could do this. So I was on music radio for a while until one of the guys who I would eventually do a show with, Chuck Freeman, had also worked at that station. I got into Milwaukee, and then I kind of crawled up the ladder there. And it's just, I like the creativity of it. I like being able to present a show. I certainly like my opinions having some weight. You know, there does need to be a level of, this is what you think, but here's what you should think. I mean, it's hard not to have some vanity. What do you want to do? I want to tell everyone what to think about the Packers. Why you? 'Cause it's me. What other reason?
So I get, So I guess, Bart, that kind of goes to my other part of my question, because I got to listen to you in the 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Pacific time slot. I think you would lead into the overnight window after 97.3 KWFM would sign off their local coverage at 7 o'clock our time. I think you came in right after, roughly after the last show would end, though. But to your point, though, about, you know, Milwaukee radio hosts doing national radio, though, you know, here's a name for you real quick. But I recall, though, when Lee Hacksaw Hamilton first came here from KTAR in Phoenix, and he was working on what was Extra 690 before they obviously went to 1090, and then they went off the air several years ago, was that he got confused by the Mexican call letters of XTRA. Like, you want me to do Charger football in Spanish? Like, that's what he was saying, though. But from your perspective, though, I maybe to this point, though, how did it feel, though, being a guy working working on a national platform, but from, probably a market where people know about the Packers, but a national guy's coming from the Midwest in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and you're across all these affiliates across the nation over in the evening?
I'm glad that I got the opportunity to represent what's going on around here, especially in 2 years of Packard suck, Giannis controversy. The Brewers were good during that time. So it was good to give a spotlight, because I can't tell you how many times on Milwaukee radio we would do segments complaining about how they're talking about us nationally. And so I did appreciate that I could say that about my teams, but I also hoped to be some sort of like conduit for other smaller cities that are still big American cities, sure, that weren't getting their rub and weren't getting their say nationally. So I appreciated that a lot. I think that would be a strength. I think that a lot of people still, like, you complain that you don't want Lakers, Cowboys, Yankees, whatever. There were some affiliates, I guess, that complained right away just because the show open said live from Milwaukee. Oh, he's talking too much Milwaukee. And I probably did talk too much Milwaukee, but that's just based on what you're used to. And also, like, I was just thinking about this today. If I'm doing a show tonight, what are some of the big stories going on right now? Doc Rivers, Giannis booed his own fans, Matt LaFleur still not fired. I'm not just going to ignore these stories because they're not happening. So I think it was great. I think doing national, I look, because like I love my teams, but I also love the NBA just because it's the NBA. So it's not like, oh, I don't know what's going. I can do, to be national, I think you have to know a little about a lot. And to do local, you have to know a lot about a little. So if I were to ever get another job in radio full time again, I think it would need to be in Milwaukee or Wisconsin or national, because I can't just pack up and move to Cleveland. And like, I know enough to talk about it nationally, but I don't know the, ingrained things about what it's like to be raised as a Cleveland sports fan, or Dallas or San Diego or Atlanta. I think there needs to be local guys doing local radio. The worst segment that exists in all of radio and TV, because a lot of TV anchors will bounce around and then they'll leave and then they'll be like, to the upper middle Midwest Missouri Valley, you guys were the best part of my 2.5 years here. I hate their goodbyes, but their intros are always like, all right, we got our new reporter, Jessica. Jessica, what we're going to do here is 10 cities, 10 local cities, and can you pronounce Wyowega? It's like, and she goes, Wauga way? And I was like, I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I could never do that.
Gee, Nick, Bart sounds like somebody on this show here when it comes to loving their hometown when it comes to sports. I wonder who that could be.
No, I get that. I just want to take a step back because you brought up his gig. So I listen to you all the time on the overnights because, like you said, you're the traditional radio show. I didn't like all the pop-up circumstance sometimes of the other part of the national lineup. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I listened to CBS Sports Radio and then Infinity because I thought it was the most complete lineup out of a lot of the other national lineups. But can you kind of talk about how you got to the national gig? Because I don't know if I've ever heard you tell that story before, because I've heard you fill in a few times and then it led up into that gig.
Yeah, I was doing shows in Milwaukee, and then we were talking to Gelb a lot for some reason, Zach Gelb, and he's like, hey, I'm taking a day off. I'll see if they'll let you fill in. Eventually that happened. So I had like 3 fill-in shows. And then the layoff in Milwaukee happened. So I kind of had like a lifeline of sorts, but then I couldn't fill in for 3 weeks because I had to collect severance from the company that fired me that was going to rehire me. But I took a risk, took my severance. Then they gave me some weekend shifts. And then I was doing like every Saturday and then a Sunday shift. And I would just, say yes to whatever happened. And that was probably a year and a half. And then when Spike was there, he said, "You're the best host we have that doesn't have a show. We need a show. You're getting the show." So those were guys I thank because they were helping me get where I got. And then we did 2 years, and now, whatever's going to be will be. But it was kind of like that, and just continuing to do it, not ever thinking not ever knowing. I just went and did the show. And if they like me at some point, they'll like me. And if they don't, they don't. And I guess that's what I'm thinking now. I don't know. I'm not applying for jobs. I don't. Not everybody in this business knows who I am, but if somebody does and they have a job, I think they would know to come to me or they'll see my stuff. I don't know, but I like what I'm doing. I'm back doing local stuff. It's the podcast that I started when I first got laid off that I still continued doing while I had the national show so I could have a local outlet, but also being a radio veteran, I knew that job would not last forever. I thought it would last more than 2 years, but I knew at some point I would need another lifeline. This right now is that lifeline.
So I guess just to follow up on national shows, were you ever on, did they say to you, "Hey, you have to play to any of these markets," or did you have to do any of that? Or was that more of your kind of feeling out what the news was? Because I know some national networks will say, "Hey, you got to hit New York, LA, Chicago." Did you ever have to do that? Or you could pretty much have a kind of a look on what's trending in the news?
Yeah. I didn't really have any directive like that ever. I think I, over time, knew in that first hour, I know we're on in Baltimore and I know we're on in DC. And then the second hour, I know Chicago takes us. And the third hour, I know Cleveland picks us up. And I think we're on in Atlanta most of the night. So if there's a local story, if there's something Chicago I want to talk about, I didn't talk about it in that first hour. I waited. And kind of that, Boston was the last 2 hours. So I wouldn't really talk Boston the first two. So I would try to do that. And also you get to know over time, we're getting a lot of callers from Baltimore. We're getting a lot of callers from Detroit. We're getting a lot of callers from Phoenix. So then you do start to think about them a little more, but there wasn't any directive at all. And in fact, I would often say a lot, screw you, East Coasters, screw you, LA. I'm not talking about this. And it's funny because there's a tie-in with WFAN. So I follow all these guys. I see all these guys. I see these huge Mets stories or Yankee stories. And I do not care. I am not talking about this. If you wanted it, you got it somewhere else. We're going to talk about the Pistons making the playoffs tonight.
Got it.
I like that. I love the mindset. Absolutely love it. With that in mind, Bart, we thank you so much for joining us here today, spending about 30, 35 minutes here today. Where can people find you on the web? And more importantly, where can they find the pod that you're hosting now as we hope to get you back on the national airwaves very soon?
I'm calling it Into the Winklerverse is what it's called. You can find it or me, Bart Winkler or Bart Winkler Show, whatever app you're on. There will be some way to then find it. YouTube, I put a lot of the podcast out, and then, wherever you get your pods, you can find it. But I plan to have a nice big month doing Packer post games live, which I got to do one. That sucked.
Well, I do want to ask one thing. I just remembered. So I see you on social media going back and forth, and I love the spice on social media that you bring on Twitter. Was that always who you were personality wise, or did that build?
I've been told to dial it down on Twitter from actual bosses a lot.
Oh, come on.
And I think if there's anything that you should write an article on me about for blocking me from getting a future job, it's not that I was bummed I lost my job. It's that I'm an unhinged maniac, especially when my teams lose online. That's what it should be.
I love it. I like be you. I don't change. I love the personality the way it is. People got to get over it. I think sometimes people are too soft sometimes in this industry. Sometimes.
I think a lot of times we're soft and also a lot more self-important than we are.
But Bart, thanks for joining us and giving us some insight on kind of what happened with ISN in the show. And hopefully we can talk down the line sometime.
Yep, you bet. Thanks, guys.
Okay. See you.
Thank you much, Bart. Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate you. All right. Bart Winkler joining us here today on Press Row on another Wednesday. 2 weeks in a row, getting to talk a bit about the ISN fallout, Nick. I mean, that was everything I thought it would be and then some here from Mr. Winkler.
No, that was great. Great interview. A lot of insight I did not know going on at ISN. The reason I asked that question about national show and do they have, because sometimes national networks will sometimes say to you, hey, you got to play to New York, LA, Chicago, Boston. And I thought it was very interesting. When you're a national host, you have to know what hours of your show you are on in certain market affiliates.
And you know what, though? That's a good little hark back, Nick, to last week when we had Keith McPherson join us well after the 2 o'clock threshold on the West Coast last week. That Keith said it right, though, as you asked him, you're doing a 5-hour show smack dab in the early evening to the evening on New York radio. And Keith basically said, first hour, it'll be this, we'll do phone calls. But hey, I'll keep you posted with the Knicks playing the Celtics, for example, and kind of do like running commentary kind of in a way when that would happen, or about the Jets or Giants, though. So I'm glad you actually brought that up, though, with Bart about coming on, though, in certain times of the day. And I actually recall, though, when Bart would come on here in San Diego, he would actually start hitting the West Coast markets like Phoenix and San Diego, LA, San Francisco, Vegas, you name it, which I think, though, is probably to your point, though, that maybe was he probably told which directions to hit, though, or was that just off the top of his head? Who knows?
And let me just be clear. I was not saying that the bosses were telling him to do that. I was just curious to see, was he said, or was he just given a little nudge, hit, hey, make sure you keep track of what affiliates you're on in the 10 o'clock Eastern hour or the 11 o'clock Eastern hour. And like he was saying, we're on in Baltimore and DC in these hours and Boston in this hour. And like he said, it's not that I'm holding off on the Boston takes, but Boston doesn't carry us until the third hour. Right. So why am I going to waste my Boston take if most of the Boston market is not listening to what I'm doing? And I thought it was very interesting what he said about WFAN in New York, by the way, because here's the secret that most people don't know. All of ISN was never carried by WFAN. It was very rare. It was very far and few in between. Unless they didn't have a host and they couldn't fill a spot, they would tag ISN in for an hour or two, whoever it was on the national side. But WFAN, the thing I will give them credit for is that they are local to a core.
Yes.
They're local to a core, except maybe for a couple spots on the weekend where they were airing BetMGM content. Now, I don't know if they're still doing that anymore because of they're still the same company, so I don't see why they couldn't. I guess it would just become, they have a deal with Westwood One, so I guess technically it's Westwood One programming.
Right.
But that probably was hard because you're not being heard in New York. That's a huge national market that's not being tapped in a lot of ways. But I give a lot of credit to New York that they don't put on a lot of national shows, because that means it's a testament to having local programming.
Correct.
In New York. Bart is great. I remembered at the last second to ask him about the social media thing because I almost forgot to ask it about the spicy responses on social media. And that was interesting what he said at the end. He's like, if someone was going to write an article, aka Barrett, wants to write a reason for why maybe I don't get hired, it's not because of how I signed off. It's because maybe some people have told me to tone it down on social media. First of all, when bosses say you have to tone it down on social media, what is that really telling you?
Censorship.
Right. But it's also saying, don't be you, is what it's telling you, if you think about it in that regard. And I think that's stupid. You should be allowed to have your own takes. You should be able to do what fits you. What grows you as a personality? Your personality, your brand. And if you can't do what you want, then how do you grow your own brand? And I thought it was interesting also that he said, "Oh, I had a conversation with the Westwood One people, slightly, some more than others." He mentioned Zach, which is now the second time, and I feel bad for Zach. What?
We have 3 developing stories that we pushed across during the course of Bart's interview. This is from Hot Off the Press, Nick. We've got Dante Moore back to Oregon for going the NFL draft. He would have been your new quarterback with the Jets, I should say. Rangers Suarez, a 5-year, $130 million deal to go to the Boston Red Sox. And just breaking right now, the National Women's Soccer League's Players Association has now filed a grievance against the recently put out Trinity Rodman rule, saying in part it violates both the CBA and labor laws, all per ESPN sources. Again, that was the rule, though, Nick, that we kind of talked about, involving one player would count higher against the salary cap in the NWSL, as again the league has been scuffling so badly to keep American talent from going overseas. But again, folks, those developing stories off the press once more. Dante Moore back to Oregon for going the NFL draft, and Nick's New York Football Jets. Rangers Suarez officially going to Boston. 5 years, $130 million contract per The Athletic. And again, the NWSLPA filing a grievance versus the league's proposed Rodman rule that, again, would allow teams to pay one player over $1 million, saying in part it violates both the CBA and also the labor laws as well, which, by the way, as well, Lindsay Heaps is going to the Denver Summit as of yesterday morning as well.
I'm going to say one thing, and then you can do an ad break because we haven't done one yet in this show. But I wish they would do away with the NIL. Now I'm getting frustrated because remember what I said last week that Dante Moore's agent, college football players have agents. This was never allowed in the sport for as many decades as we've played college football.
And Nick, we'll just go back to 2 days ago inside the ETB lounge where, again, we had it was a future regret that we were going to, we're going to regret having the portal open while these two teams play for the national championship on Monday. And we kind of in a way scoffed at it. But here, though, Nick, is that story again involving Dante Moore. I mean, do I dare say it? He probably forget. Let's take the agent and push him somewhere else for right now. Let's look at Dante Moore, the person. He's looking at that draft board for April in Pittsburgh. I don't want to go play for the Jets.
I'm sorry, though. If there was no NIL involved, then he'd be hungry to go to the NFL. Yeah, I know. That's what I've been saying, and Christy's right. But if there was no NIL collective and you wanted to go get the money, he would be running for the NFL draft. Running. And tell me where I'm stuttering or I'm wrong in that scenario.
No, and initially I was for the NIL as long as it was for a tuition payments, car payments, help out your family.
Food.
Like actual human being reasons, not to go and burn through the money and wind up being broke because you got to go buy a damn Maserati or buy a mansion on the beach in Coronado here in Southern California.
I don't know if they can do that, though.
I mean, I don't think so either, but again, I have long been for it as long as it's being used for the right reasons. And I know that can be kind of, blurred lines, whatever. I don't want Robin fixing him a song with Pharrell Williams, for God's sakes. But now, in a way, though, it's too much, though, Nick, now, where I think, forget the NIL, Nick. I still think the portal is more of an issue. And now we have, players getting 8 years in college because of eligibility and transferring and stuff. The NIL can be one thing, but the portal still being out of control, though, is still, though, killing college athletics across the board.
Yeah, but now the agents are controlling college football, though,
which is just insane to think. That part I agree with. That part I agree with 1,000%. Now, again, I work at a mid-major university where I don't know what our collective really looks like, and I don't really care to know, honestly. But I know that
as high as other schools.
Yeah, but I know that there have been students, though, or student athletes, whether we like it or not, they are still student athletes who have jumped ship to a bigger school because of the collective. You know, one of our men's basketball players went to UCLA to play in the Big Ten and play for more money, though. But Steven Jamerson was a great player for us last season. But I mean, at the end of the day, though, obviously, you know, we said it on Monday, though, Nick, at the rate that we're going here, let's just call the damn portal free agency and just call it the end of the day.
But the thing is, so the agent is telling him, hey, I discussed with all the teams whether they're going to draft you. That should not be allowed.
I mean, in a way, nowadays, to that point, before we get back on track here, in a way, everybody now makes Eli Manning, how he snubbed San Diego in 04, look like $1 million and look like a bleeping genius.
Yeah, but he had to do it in a
different way,
defying the rules behind the scenes. This, you can legally defy rules now. Oh, I don't like the teams that are at the top. Oh, it's okay. I'll go accept another $3-4 million in NIL money and go play another year at school. And I'm probably not going to classes anyway because screw education. I'm just here to make my money. But this is insane. You have agents now who, before they get to the NFL, saying, hi, Raiders, are you taking me? Jets, are you taking me?
Hi, Giants. Hi, Cowboys.
Like, what is this? First of all, in my opinion, why would we're going to do one, but what's the point of doing NFL draft shows anymore?
Especially when a lot of the talent like a Dante Moore, for example, choose to go back to Eugene, Oregon and play where Phil Knight can fork out $5 million for him to stay on campus for one more year.
They had the CEO of Nike, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. But the last thing I'll say is there's no reason to do NFL draft analysis anymore because the agents are going to come out and tell you if they're not going to go. So what's the point?
Yeah, there is no point now. With that in mind, though, Nick, coming up at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, a new fresh episode of ETB Sports with yourself and Zambando gets off the ground and running, though the podcast audio came out at midnight Eastern. Nick, what's on the show for you and Mr. Bando here today at about 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific here this afternoon?
Yeah, we got into a lot. We get into the national championship. Excuse me. We talked about the NFL wild card round. A lot of good games. I have to deal with the Bears bias, which we get into. I think Matt LaFleur should be fired by the Packers. It's probably not going to happen. Dylan Raiola commits to Oregon. Speaking of Oregon, now it's going to be interesting now that Dante Moore did not leave for the NFL. Now they have a logjam at the quarterback position.
Quarterback controversy.
And by the way, that's a lot of NIL money that they're going to have to deal with.
You think, or you know?
We get into Miami, Indiana. I think Indiana is going to win the national championship and go 16-0. Kurt Signani is having one of the most amazing years in the history of college football. I'm hearing rumors that he could go to had to take a meeting for the Steelers job, which I think he'd be stupid if he did. We talk about Angel Reese and her new skin care deal. And if you go on social media, I actually took another shot at Angel Reese.
Oh my God, man!
because is she an influencer or is she an athlete? Which one is it?
Both, apparently, in her eyes.
Baseball meeting moves finally happening. Alex Bregman signs a new deal, and then we get into Wes Miller's epic rant, the Cincinnati coach.
Okay,
about NIL.
Okay, well, speaking of NIL, there you go. You can go and catch that at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern here today for episode 301 of ETB Sports. All right, Nick, back to our task at hand here. The first major domino with the ongoing LIV PGA rift was finally confirmed on Monday as the golf world was rocked when the PGA Tour announced that Brooks Koepka has come crawling back to the PGA Tour and will be reinstated and will debut at the Farmers Insurance Open in La Jolla, California, in San Diego, beginning January 29th. Brooks returns via the newly formed returning member program, essentially a soccer-style transfer window open from now until February 2nd. However, though, Koepka must forfeit all player equity program shares for a full 5 years, between $50 to $85 million in shares. He is also deemed ineligible for the upcoming FedEx Cup playoff bonus money pool and must make a $5 million charitable donation to a PGA Tour charity of choice. 3 other golfers qualify under the new rules, including Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Cameron Smith, though per reports gathered late on Monday night and into Tuesday, both Rahm, DeChambeau, and Cameron Smith all right now said they will decline the offer to come back to the PGA Tour, including DeChambeau saying, I'd rather make more money off of YouTube than play on tour events. But though, Nick, with the PGA Tour, by creating a one-time window with such high financial penalties, is the PGA basically trying to reunite the game, or are they setting a poison pill designed to ensure only the wealthiest stars can ever afford to return back to the tour after the very sleazy, ugly, and very much, Nick, out of control war between LIV and PGA golf?
And all the failure.
That's what I have to say first. This is gatekeeping, if I ever saw it, by the PGA Tour. So here's what I don't get. And you and I talked about this last night when we were prepping the show, or over the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So what's going on with the WNBA right now as a lockout, right?
Yes.
So you're seeing these women go and play for Unrivaled, or they're getting ready to play in Project B, or what's the other one? There's another one too.
Unlimited.
Thank you. So do you think the W is going to penalize those players because they went to go play in those other leagues because they need to play and make money?
They do have that loophole we talked about a while back where if you're not in training camp by the first day of camp, you are suspended for part of the season.
Okay, but most of the players are going to play and then they're going to come back. Yeah. The seasons were planned strategically so that they could play in the off seasons and then they could go back to the W.
Precisely.
But this is like if the W said, we don't like you. We're going to fine you because you decided to go to these other competitors. So what? Yeah, the PGA's mad, essentially, is what they're saying. They're mad because they went to LIV because LIV gave them a better offer to play golf? Is that what we're talking about here?
I mean, pretty much, Nick. And, and I always use these analogies whenever we talk about golf, which we very seldom do, because if we ever do, Nick, it's always about the PGA versus LIV.
I like golf, too.
I do, too. I mean, obviously, it's kind of fallen off without Tiger Woods playing and obviously watching Rory finally win the Masters this past spring. Cool.
Yeah.
The way he did it, the celebration, obviously, we did talk, though, in a negative light, though, about the behavior of the American fan base, though, during the Ryder Cup this summer involving, the remarks towards the European players, President Trump showing up, Rory McIlroy's wife being harassed, the near fight between golfers on the 15th hole. You even said about how Page Black or whatever the name of the courses can kind of be.
That's Page Black.
Yeah, it can be a little bit on the rowdy side. Nothing like the WM Open in Phoenix, Arizona, with their.
I passed it the other day. It's literally 10 minutes from me here.
Yeah. So we have talked about golf, but Nick, like though I've been saying though a little bit, is I think next season, either next year or sometime, I think 2031. Is going to be the 70th anniversary of the American Football League being founded. And I only bring that up because the Chargers played in the AFL along with much of the American Football Conference. And Nick, we have benchmarks episodes probably a year or two from now because of how much content we have. But I'm talking about how this stuff happens. The main league, PGA Tour, faces competition, LIV, or in other cases, NFL, AFL, NBA, ABA, NHL, WHA. There's always that one league trying their best to compete for those stars. And I remember in the 30 for 30 that they did about Al Davis suing the NFL, the Raiders going from Oakland to LA and back, eventually going to Las Vegas.
A huge battle, too.
Yeah, huge battle. And it was very, very well done. But Al Davis even said there was a mutual agreement of understanding between both the NFL and the AFL. We won't sign players from your league. The NFL, though, swooped in, I think, halfway through the tenure of the AFL and signed a kicker from the then AFL Buffalo Bills,
yes,
which set off the massive firestorm. And then obviously Al became commissioner. Him and Rozelle had their wars, but eventually the NFL bought out the AFL and they merged
because they had no choice.
Yeah, they had no choice. The NBA and the ABA had their wars over the three-point line and the ball, and they only took 4 of the franchises that are now in the NBA. The NHL faced competition from the WHA, including San Diego. We were very close to having the Gulls back in the early 70s, I think, if my memory serves me correct, though, from some reading I did, that the NHL wanted to come to San Diego, believe it or not, in the 70s. But the WHA, who was, again, snatching up new markets to compete for TV deals with the NHL, they literally put the San Diego Mariners here to compete with the LA Kings for the SoCal hockey market, which obviously that didn't work for our favor because the Kings had already been established. But regardless, my point is simple, Nick. These things happen all the time. And I'm not, though, Nick, surprised. I think we said last week or the week prior that there was rumblings of Koepka stepping away from LIV for a personal matter. Take what you want to, take with a grain of salt, though. But here, though, Nick, is the first major domino of the big signings of LIV. But let's also, Nick, remember, though, this tour has been obviously backed. They've been backed by the Saudi private, public interest investment fund.
Correct.
But also, they're stuck on Saturday mornings on the CW.
I don't even know if they're on there anymore.
And no one goes to these and regardless, nobody goes to watch these, to watch it. And also, Nick, the main sticking point, the Saudis love the team golf format, team A versus team B. As long as I've been alive, Nick, and when I did go to the Farmers Open here in San Diego, it's individual stroke play. I don't care to watch team golf. Now, the exception though would though, Nick, be the TGL on ESPN. I watched Jupiter play yesterday afternoon. Like, I'll watch that version of it though, because it's more of a fast pace. It's not, it's not dragged out over 4 days of competition.
And the only time you hit is once the ball is on the green.
Yes.
When it's placed. By the way, I just looked it up. Actually, Liv is now on the Fox family of networks. By the way.
So Fox and then FS1, I'm guessing, and like Fox Business News, I'm sure too.
Fox, FS1, FS2, Fox Business Network, and all streaming platforms of Fox Sports.
I mean, what to do? I mean, FS1's been a dying, they've been a dying, sinking ship forever. So
I think you're being nice. They're a dying shithole if you really want a real opinion of it. But I think this is gatekeeping. But let me be very clear about one thing. I don't agree with Liv and how they're backed with and you can go back to many shows I did years ago when this happened, where I said, Saudi public interest fund, why the hell would we get in bed with blood money and all that stuff? And now you see the WWE doing shows in Saudi Arabia. I think they have one coming up very soon. Actually,
I think the Royal Rumble's back there, I want to say.
I think the UFC is going to start doing shows out of Saudi Arabia. Zuffa Boxing, right. So I get it, but what I don't agree with is you're going to gatekeep and tell Brooks Koepka, oh, well, I went to the competition because they gave me more money and now you're penalizing me for coming back. Since when does that make sense in any other competitive balance?
Yeah, it doesn't. And, I'm not really too surprised about Rahm or, DeChambeau. He's a very much flamboyant, personality.
Well, they signed new deals. I think DeChambeau came out either today or a couple of days ago and said, I had already resigned. I just didn't announce it yet.
I think he re-signed. Then I think there was something in the reporting, though, that he basically said, I don't need to be on a tour. I can just go and make money off of giving golf lessons on YouTube and taking my creatine shakes and hitting the ball 500 yards off the tee.
The problem is, and this is like the W with Unrivaled and Project B, they're afraid of their competition, even though they won't admit it. So these penalties, which I continue to read, and I'm just reading some of the quotes, by the way. So Koepka rejoined, like you said, in the returning member program. Rahm, DeChambeau, and Smith declared they're staying. DeChambeau's contract ran through 2026 anyway.
Okay, that makes sense.
So he was not going anywhere. A new limited pathway allows specific major champions to return to the PGA Tour. So here's the thing. You went to Live, you took more money. If you know you can come back for the majors, why would you leave Live to go back to the PGA Tour?
Right.
And I'm going through all these penalties again because you got them all right on the money when I went to look back. So he's going to return for the Farmers Insurance Open, which is at the end of this month. Koepka has to forfeit player equity programs. I didn't even know what that was. Player equity. I guess
no idea.
I guess they get like percentages of the PGA. Is that what that means? Or I don't even know what that means. And I don't know. Maybe
It could be purse money though too for tournaments.
I mean, I'm looking this up really quick because I've never heard of it. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, the PGA Tour Player Equity Program grants equity in the new for-profit PGA Tour enterprises to members.
Interesting.
Funded by a $1.5 billion investment to reward loyalty and performance, incentivize future commitment, and align player interest with the tour's growth. So apparently it is part of the PGA Tour, which I didn't know. But to suspend or to say he can't get any player equity for 5 years, those $50 to $85 million, which, by the way, I don't think Brooks Koepka's hurting for money. I'm just going to say that now. He's ineligible for the 2026 FedEx Cup bonus money. Okay, PGA, you are the dumbest organization of all time. He didn't play on the PGA Tour, so he's not earning points on the FedEx point list. So is that really a negative for him?
No.
No. And then the one that shocked me, he must make a $5 million charitable donation
To a PGA Tour charity of his choice.
Now, you and I are for charity in every way, shape, or form. But since when can the PGA Tour demand that someone is forced to make a $5 million donation to get back on the tour?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of gatekeeping, and who knows? I'll be interested, Nick, before we move on here. I'll be eager to see what kind of reception he gets when he gets announced at the first tee here at Torrey Pines in a couple of weeks.
In about 2 weeks, he's going to be at the Farmer Insurance Open. I think was that in Phoenix? I think.
No, that's here in San Diego.
Oh, is that in San Diego? Oh, which one is the one that had all the
Waste Management Open?
That's the one where all the fans like stormed the gates and destroyed everything.
Yeah, that's next stop after that.
All right, moving on into my realm in the NBA world. Dennis Schröder's hallway attempted strike. The NBA has handed down a 3-game suspension to Sacramento Kings guard Dennis Schröder following an incident after a loss to the Lakers. According to Shams Charania, Schröder sought out a Lakers player in the arena hallway 40 minutes after the game and, quote, indicted a confrontation that included an attempt to strike him. This premeditated off-court aggression is what triggered the multi-game ban as the league seeks to crack down on players settling scores in private arenas. Does a 3-game suspension for an attempted strike in a hallway set a fair standard, or should the league be looking at much harsher penalties for premeditated off-court confrontations? Well, Callan and I were talking about this over the last couple of nights. I personally don't understand this. I think this is kind of ridiculous, to be really frank about it. If this was the 90s, like the late 80s, early 90s, players would settle scores on court. You would see brawls. You would see fights. You would see aggression. That was the best part of the NBA in the 90s. When you had, or early 80s, when you had Michael Jordan taking on all comers, being the best player of all time in the NBA. Then you have bitching from guys like LeBron James, and everyone, and it's fight night every single night at an NBA game. Like, come on, guys. Like, fighting is part of sports. It's part of the sports and the culture. Okay? If you don't like it, don't watch sports. That's as simple as I can put it. And I still don't know what the nature of the fight was. I just know what happened after the game. I'll try to look it up to see if I can find what the actual nature of the fight was. But
Nick, if memory serves me correct, I think that was involving what we talked about on the lounge on Monday, that apparently Dennis Schröder had sought out Luka Doncic for some commentary about Schröder not re-signing with the Lakers for $84 million a few years ago.
I'm trying to see if I can find it.
Any video, there might be like some still photos though of Schröder heading towards the Laker locker room, as we kind of said though on the lounge on Monday. Not the first time, though, that there's been a fight at Crypto.com Arena involving like a hallway or something. I know that we kind of said our piece, though, on the lounge on Monday regarding the simple fact, though, of, if this was in the NBA in the 90s, this is like, commonplace. And obviously, the game has gotten soft in the last, 15, 20, 25 years, probably, if not, more recently with the, the rise of, you can't do this, you can't do that. But also, I think the 3 games is a little bit much. I would rather just, give the guy a fine.
Give him a fine. Give him the same. I wouldn't say give him the same fine as Jalen Brunson, who was yapping about the refs.
Him and Jalen Brown both were, yes.
I don't know. I think we're severely overreacting to this situation when it comes to Dennis Schröder, and the suspension came down way after the incident happened, right?
So apparently, I think we said this on ETB Lounge on Monday. This broke out or happened, per the reports gathered. It happened on December 28th, and it took them almost a week, if not 2 weeks, to actually give punishment to Schröder for his actions. So what is that telling you?
That they're slow to react, number one. But this is not your 90s NBA anymore, where you settled fights on the court. You played better than me. All right, I have to bow down and accept that Michael Jordan kicked my ass every single night, or whatever. But the NBA's soft, and you heard what we said during Bart Winkler's interview. Like the media game is soft because people don't know, because can't handle a comment on social media. Like, athletes are soft too. Like, because now that we live in a social media age, if you say something horrible, oh my God, you offended me. But I don't know. By the way,
oh boy, what do we got?
Well, you're not going to be happy about this slightly, but we have a new Netflix podcast update.
Oh, goodness.
The White House with Michael Irvin, a new original sports video podcast, is coming to Netflix in the U.S. on January 19th. It will tackle current sports news, game analysis, and commentary with 2 episodes a week, featuring a rotating roster of co-hosts, including former NFL All-Pro wide receiver Brandon Marshall, who will also produce the show.
Of all the names, though, you used, it's the White House?
I mean, I guess he knows what's going to get the clicks, right? By the way, I did check out the Netflix roster. I was watching Pardon My Take just to see what it looked like. It's not terrible, but it's just awkward that I have to go to my TV and I have to click into the podcast section, and then I have to turn the video. The Bill Simmons thing that was live after Sunday Night Football was awkward because he had no idea when the live cue was coming in whatsoever. The audio was rough on his side. But I don't know. Did we include the other story? Actually, since we're talking about this now, the all the smoke situation.
Remind me of that. I think it was about what, Matt Barnes?
So, well, All the Smoke rejected a deal from Netflix because they said they didn't want to jeopardize their YouTube audience, which, by the way, I'm surprised that a lot of these podcasts were willing to jeopardize the sports ones. I can give 2 shits about the Breakfast Club and Chelsea Handler's podcast and all this shit. I could care less. The sports ones, YouTube is a valuable tool and a resource for a lot of these podcasts. Now, Michael Irvin, I have no idea. This is a new podcast. I've never seen him do a podcast like this before. So it almost sounds like they threw his name on a podcast and said, oh, Netflix, you want to take it? We'll give it to you.
Sure.
Why not? Let's just add it to everything else we have. They're talking about Fanatics and the WWE putting their stuff on there too. I mean, I don't know, but the White House with Michael Irvin on Netflix, January 19th. Yay!
We go from that, Nick, to more about the WNBA lockout. Despite the CBA expiring last week on January 9th and passing without a new deal, the WNBA has told GMs, though, that they are allowed to send out qualifying offers to free agents. However, the WNBPA is in a status quo period, and it is highly unlikely players will sign any contracts while the revenue-sharing model remains unsettled. The league claims a 30% gross revenue share for players would lead to $700 million in losses, a figure that the Players Union has called absolutely false. Nick, is the league's decision to allow qualifying offers a genuine attempt to keep business moving or a tactical PR move to make the players appear to be the ones stalling the 2026 WNBA season?
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Yeah, this is... This is literally a PR stunt by the WNBA. I don't care how you list it. You could say it however you want. You could say the W's trying to change the power model of the W. This is clearly a PR stunt by the W because they want to get this league back up and running because they have games in April, right? So, and if they don't soon, all these leagues are going to take over. Unrivaled is going to take over. Project B is going to take over. Players Unlimited is going to take over. And it's a problem. And this is all, well, we're allowing you guys to sign deals, but the players are being assholes and they're holding this up. That's not, it's a stunt. It's not real.
I feel awful for the fans in Toronto and Portland who were like eager to see WNBA basketball in their market, especially the Portland basketball fan base who, you know, they didn't really get to embrace the team when they were there between 2002 and 2004. Toronto is a untapped market, Nick, but they have done a great job, like Seattle, supporting women's sports over the last several years, if not longer, that they're the ones right now. You know, Nick, like any other lockout issue, guess who pays the price? It's the fans, not the players, not the GMs, not the owners, not the commissioner. We, the fans who love the game, want to see the game grow, want people to actually respect the game and actually respect women's sports around here. We're the ones who suffer, you know, and I don't understand, though, how the league can just, you know, blatantly put out, oh, a 30% increase. Oh, we're going to be losing, you know, nearly $1 billion in revenue. Again, where are those numbers coming from, though, Kathy? Like, stop trying to make this what it's not.
Hold the phone. This is interesting. So this is not necessarily a sports thing, but this is an incredible thing I just came across.
Oh, boy.
Breaking news, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, U.S. Cellular, and Xfinity all facing outages across the U.S. It was interesting because some of us were having problems with our phones because we have Verizon. Now, my phone's working. At least it seems like it's working now. But, and Nico just messaged me, like, did you see the thing with Verizon going on? I mean, you got my text, right? When I sent it to you during the interview?
Yeah, because I go through Charter Spectrum for my phone.
But you answered me and I got it back right away.
No, let me send it. Let me send a
send a text back because now
a test one real quick.
Yeah, testing. Yes, my phone's working.
Hey, it works. Huh.
But apparently there's a massive outage.
Yeah, I had a colleague who was they're on their way back to DC to see family, and they said that Verizon's out, so they have to text on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so apparently there's a huge outage going on.
Now let's hope they get it resolved. I don't like hearing that sort of stuff. It's scary.
But what was I saying? Oh, we were talking about the W, right? So
yes, what else is new?
PR stunt. The W's trying to blame this all on the players. I'm not saying the players are not absolved of any blame. Let me be very clear about that. Because it takes two sides to tango on a labor negotiation deal. But
collusion.
I'm not ready to go that far yet. But
collusion. Unrivaled.
Yeah, well, yes. But this is the W saying, quick, GMs, send out qualifying offers so that we make it look like it's their fault.
Like nothing is going wrong.
But it's their fault. We'll make it look like it was their fault.
Y'all ain't fooling anybody, Kathy.
You're not fooling anybody, man. Like until you guys come to the table and give them a fair amount of the which one is it? The revenue of the league or gross revenue. They want 30%. You're barely offering what? 15%? I think was the last number that they were talking about. Like 15% apart is a lot to be apart.
This is not a breaking news story because I just saw it, though, from our good man, Johnny Montalbano. Nick, Dante Moore actually made his announcement that he was going to go back to Oregon on the late day or early afternoon edition of SportsCenter today.
I mean, am I surprised by that? No. It is what it is. I mean, the agents are too far involved. But this, and I love how they keep throwing that number out that if they get 30% of the gross revenue, it's going to lead to $700 million in losses. Again, I'm going to say this again before I break this bottle in my hand. How do you know that number? Where is that number? There is no accuracy to that number. So are we making up things to make the players look bad? Is that what we're doing here?
We are.
Kathy, stop. That's why everyone wants to fire your ass and find a new commissioner.
Exactly. Nick, this is probably one we didn't see coming with this next story, but the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, Canada, or AGCO, has officially fined FanDuel $350,000 for failing to report suspicious betting activity involving Czech Table Tennis Star Series matches in the Czech Republic. The regulator identified 144 suspicious bets across 3 accounts that showed a implausible win rate despite previous industry warnings about the specific tournament. The AGCO claims FanDuel allowed the betting to continue for several weeks without any sort of intervention. But, Nick, if major sports books are failing to catch near-perfect win rates in niche sports like table tennis, how can the public trust integrity monitors to catch more sophisticated fixing in major markets or even major sports? Were you, though, Nick, were of the belief, though, again, the story is pretty funny, but you kind of said it, though, right, though, and I think DiMartino would agree, and so would Liam Barwick. What if you're wagering on sports and you're just running a hot hand right now? You're getting things to hit. All of a sudden, if you win 11 straight bets, are you going to be, basically arrested for winning too much? Like, what's going on here?
That's like being in a casino and say you're playing blackjack and you're just getting a lucky deck. That happens from time to time. You just catch a lucky deck because, like, a lot of times they'll play a 5 deck shoe and they'll find one, and you're just hitting away. The dealer's busting. Oh, we got to watch the camera because he's making too much money in here. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll say this again. Because, really? $350,000 on table tennis? That's what I call a destructive, degenerative gambler. Like, if you're betting that much money on table tennis, you have a gambling problem.
Maybe wait till the 28 Olympics in Los Angeles to bet on table tennis.
Maybe I think you have Maze Izuhara, whatever his name was, the
Ipe Mizuhara, who was with Otani.
Yes. Ipe Mizuhara gambling problem. You need to go to Gamblers Anonymous and get that problem figured out.
I wonder though, Nick, if this though is a little bit of like, now again, I don't want to condone though the fact that somebody bet on table tennis. I mean, again, Kalshi and freaking Polymark, you can bet on the weather being under 75 degrees on the 14th day of January in San Diego, for heaven's sakes, like it is today.
How do you confirm that, though?
But because my computer just said current temperature in San Diego 74 degrees and sunny.
Girl, what do they base that on, though?
Yeah,
when they say,
is it a over under? Is it something? But
what do they use? What do they use to determine the actual temperature? Like, are they taking a thermometer outside and seeing how warm it is?
But here's the thing, though. I partially wonder, again, let's take the table tennis aspect and push it somewhere else for right now. Where again, someone is riding a heater. We call those heat checks in basketball. A team's riding, a hot streak right now. Nick, why do I also kind of feel like, though, this might be a little bit, though, of overreach by either FanDuel or the AGCO, in a way, putting their hands in the cookie jar just because 3 different accounts, all are hitting bets though in quick succession. Again, I understand. We can say, well, hey, what about the NBA gambling scandal? Well, that was a whole different, thing back in October that broke out.
Bart brought it up. What about Emmanuel Clase?
Or Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz with the Cleveland Guardians. But I wonder though, Nick, in this case, let's not, let's hear mainly. Do you think that there might be a little bit too much of a hands-on here regarding just whoever it might be winning, let's say, 21 matches in a row when they've put wagers down on table tennis?
Maybe someone's just good at knowing the odds of certain sports.
Maybe.
Or that's why they have professional gambling networks, as much as I hate them. But
and as Bart said, and as Shep said, within the last 2 weeks.
Right. And I think Bart's a little more into the gambling stuff than Shep probably is, because he does a pick segment on his show. But he also said, hey, I'm not forcing you to watch it.
Right.
If you want to watch it, fine. I'm happy to see it. If not, come back when I'm not doing the pick segment anymore. It's part of the culture of what we're doing. But I think we're overreacting.
Slightly.
But the story says the regulator identified 144 suspicious bets across. It depends when the timing of those bets were, though.
So let's say someone puts a bet down on match point, for example. Would that perhaps maybe in your mind raise suspicion?
So here's the problem with certain betting. Because you could do live betting during a football game, during an NBA game, a baseball game, any game, hockey game, anything, soccer.
Yeah.
So you could put a bet on before a game, but what sometimes a lot of people will do, and sometimes I've done this before, you wait for the game to start because then the line will come down sometimes on a game. Or you're waiting for a specific part of the game to say, oh, I like this, that they're the favorite or they're the underdog. I'm going to take that line when the game is live. I've never heard of ping pong where people wait until in the game. I've never heard of table tennis really being bet on.
Well, apparently this happened over in the Czech Republic, which is so weird that somebody in Canada, or that the Canadian Alcohol and
Ontario.
And Gaming Commission of the province of Ontario fined FanDuel for suspicious betting activity.
It's funny that $350,000 was being wasted away on table tennis. I've never heard of I wouldn't even know how to prorate players in table tennis at all. So number one, I would never do it because I don't know professional table tennis players. I can tell you about NBA players. I can tell you about NFL players. I can tell you about MLB players.
You just wait till 2028 when table tennis is at the Peacock Theater in downtown LA for the Summer Olympics.
But it doesn't mean anything to me though, because I don't know. I've never seen them or who they are. That's part of the problem here. But to say that because they made a bunch of successful bets in a row that they should be investigated, you could say that about professional gamblers if that's all they do every single day and they just understand the odds and the way to place bets. You're going to penalize them for that? That's not right. If they're doing it suspiciously, that's one thing.
Yeah, of course. And more importantly, though, Nick, this is actually a good teaser for another Benchmarks episode, again, months, years down the road. There is going to be one, though, about table tennis being used for political reasons between the U.S. and China in the 70s that I'll be documenting regarding ping pong diplomacy where, Team USA and China, I think during the Olympics one year, a Team USA player, missed the bus to go back to the village, and he hitched right with the Chinese national team, and that really opened the door in a way for the U.S. and China to begin renegotiating when it came to, the policy you talked about during $1 billion lines last week on Benchmarks episode 2. So, but again, $350,000 though on table tennis.
What about the things that Dino talked about in the parlays and prediction markets and all that stuff? And I think even Bart brought it up too. Prediction markets are insane. They're crazy. You don't know how to follow them. I think we forgot to mention it during the golf segment, but DeChambeau now has a deal with Kalshi.
Yeah.
And right. Kalshi's under litigation.
And we said the same thing about Johnny Manziel last Wednesday.
And also Polymarket. And by the way, I think you might have been away for a second when he was talking about it, but Bart had said, he's like, if you look at every Twitter account, they all have the little square next to them for Kalshi or Polymarket and all that shit.
And that dumbass, Brent Hoffman Jr., had one for Novig on his when he sent that stupid-ass yawning emoji to ETB Network on Twitter.
And, of course, nothing ever happened to him anyway. But I don't know if you remember, we also did a story on those prediction markets where they canceled or took away some of the logos from people because they were putting out these obscene, like, entertainment and political things, which made no sense whatsoever. Like, gambling, I don't know. It's become a problem.
It has been. With that in mind, though, Nick, obviously ETB Sports drops today, but what else is coming down the pipeline for more ETB content on Thursday, if not Friday or over the weekend?
So Forever Power 5 is Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. That's previewing the national championship. Nick DiMartino, Zambando, Will Charlton, Mr. 60 Minutes. Get together for a minisode, probably about 35 minutes, because there's not as much news to talk about. So they preview that. They talked about the semifinal games. What was it? The Fiesta Bowl and the Peach Bowl. So they get into all that. And then there will be a moving the goalpost, unnecessary wager crossover. Johnny Montalbano was sick. So Liam stepped in, and I still have to edit that show, actually. But that's coming out tomorrow at 8 p.m. So Forever Power 5, 7 p.m. MTGP UW, 8 p.m. Yes, UW is usually live. Just couldn't swing that this week because of the way the games were on the schedule. But you'll get one more episode of Forever Power 5 after that to kind of put a bow on the football season. And then we kind of move into the college basketball season and really start picking up on that. We're working on some programming for next Monday, which is the day of the national championship. We're going to have probably a 1-hour pre-show leading into the national championship. Mr. Williams over there, Trevor Williams, will be doing Gridiron Gridlock. We might have Zan. We might have Will, because Will usually does Noteworthy NCAA on Mondays. So we'll probably get you an hour pre-show before the national championship between Indiana and Miami. And then also benchmarks coming up, new episodes. What are we up to? What's the next episode?
We're up to Tom Albano recapping and dissecting the 1994 baseball strike.
Which is ironic, considering we might be coming up to a strike soon for Major League Baseball.
Wait, you said strike?
On strike! We're going on strike! I still don't know what strike means, but we're going on a strike!
Makes sense. And then what do you have coming up in Small Market?
Small Market Edition on Friday is about the relocation of the Hartford Whalers and Quebec Nordiques to Raleigh, North Carolina, and to Denver, Colorado.
So, yeah, there's so much content that we still have a list of content we're going through that is in the process of being. Actually, I have a a small market I have to do for you at some point today.
9 will be out next Friday.
So wow, I'm up against the clock on that one. But lots of content. Follow our network at ETB Network. Help us get to our watch hours. We're very close to 2,000. 4,000 is the goal for monetization. 3,000 will allow us to do some extra premium content on YouTube. So help us out there. We see everybody watching, which is nice. Keep watching, keep subscribing, and let's go.
67 live viewers. Monday's ETB Lounge, by the way, Nick cracked 100 YouTube views this morning. So, again, great to see that program. Obviously, as I wrote to the team, though, obviously working very hard to still, fill some roster voids on the Monday show. Saturday's been fine. Obviously, the Monday one is not where it should be right now, but we're really working to, get that up to snuff right now, just because the Monday time slot is just a bit tough, though, for people, obviously, with work the following day. Nick, into hour 3 already. The show has flown by again. so I can actually get to work at a decent time here this afternoon or evening. But again, by the way, major thank you again to our good man, Bart Winkler, who joined us at 11:30. We'll have that interview again extracted from our show and put as a separate clip or a video for you folks to watch if you missed it here today. Nick, speaking of some controversy, the St. Joseph County Prosecutor's Office announced on Monday that no criminal charges or action will be taken against Notre Dame head football coach and potential new NFL head coach Marcus Freeman following some accusations of battery assault back at a January 3rd wrestling tournament. Prosecutors did review surveillance video from the Mishawaka High School, which they say contradicted the claims made by the accuser, which was local wrestling coach Chris Flieger. The footage reportedly seemed to show that Freeman was simply attempting to move through a crowded doorway with his son after the boy was verbally assaulted, basically. The prosecutor's office stated that the video evidence showed no violent physical contact, and the accuser's claims, including that he was shoved by Freeman with two hands, were totally unfounded. But Nick, with video evidence not only preventing charges, but also revealing that the accuser reportedly mentioned he believed Freeman was rich and planned to hire an attorney, does this incident, though, serve as a warning for high-profile coaches, let alone public figures, to avoid public youth sporting events entirely to prevent settlement-seeking accusations made by the general public?
God, Marcus Freeman can't stay out of the spotlight, can he?
No.
Now, if it wasn't his fault, then we need to admit the truth, if that's the case. If he didn't do anything and he's exonerated, then we have to tell the media. Media's got to admit that he didn't do this situation. So I think we're making too much out of a story. If he didn't do the crime, then stop. Then don't hold the prior as opposed to this one. They're two separate incidents that happen. Now, is he a complete idiot for everything he's done and the way he's acted? Yeah, of course. But if there's no evidence and he didn't do it, then just stop.
I don't know what to make of this, Nick. You know, for heaven's sakes, can we not let these people live their lives and go and support their kids when they're at like a wrestling meet? I mean, just for the fact, though, that now, again, the report, though, said, though, that Marcus's son was getting, in a way, kind of verbally taunted during this meet, though, at the very end of it, and they were just on their way out, though. I mean, I don't know, Nick. I mean, I think I get more and more ticked off at people whenever there's a public figure in a facility, like in this case, though, like now all of a sudden, Nick, we can't let these people live their freaking lives all of a sudden. You know, obviously, you know, maybe get an autograph or a photo, but not for this, though, where, again, they're trying to leave the building after his son is verbally harassed. And I probably know where that actually happened or what the reason was behind it. And I think you know where I'm going with it. I won't say it publicly, but I think we can at least know about what maybe was being verbally, shouted or said towards the Freeman family and his son. Which, if you want to know, it's the race card, sadly. That's where I was going with it. But also, Nick, I think my only main gripe, though, is leave these people alone, for heaven's sakes, especially when they're trying to watch their son or daughter compete. Let them be, please.
He's already dealt with enough crap as it is. Like, he's going to do time probably at some point if all these things are proven to be guilty. He's a public figure. Now, just because you're a public figure doesn't mean you have to deal with scrutiny nonstop when you're out in public with people.
For sure.
But at the same time, you're a public figure. People are going to see you and recognize who you are as a human being. But that doesn't mean that people could just come up and just start yelling and screaming obscenity.
Racial slurs, you're an idiot, you're this, you're that, berating somebody in a public space.
Yeah. You can't scream obscenities in a public figure's face. We've seen this many times with athletes and coaches and all of that stuff that people are, oh, well, he's a public figure, so he has to accept what I say. No, they don't. They don't. Just because they're a public figure.
Because much like the whole Lynn Jones-Turpin thing we talked about earlier in the show, Liam Cohen is a human being, folks. Lynn Jones-Turpin is a human being. Marcus Freeman, despite the fact he pulled his team out of a bowl game, he is a human being. They are not robots. They're not AI-generated figures like DiMartino calls Raider and Cowboy fans that they're AI-generated, because they're not, sadly. Again, Nick, I look back, though, at that video again, not to, make it about the Liam Cohen snafu again, But I generally looked at, saw that video. Again, I thought Liam Cohen was going to cry in a good way, that he actually got a pat on the back and it was not getting scrutiny about the 4th and 2, for example, that they didn't convert on, or Lawrence throwing that pick to end the game from their own 20-yard line. But like I said, though, Nick, they may be public figures, but they are not immune from having feelings, for God's sakes. And that's why I said, though, whenever there's a someone comes to a game, as I remember very well when, for example, Garrett Anderson, longtime former Angels outfielder, his son, Trey Garrett Jr., played at my Division II university. Garrett Sr. and his wife came to every home basketball game, Nick, and everybody left them alone. They said they sat in their same 2 seats in the upper row or, on the concourse by themselves. No one said hi to them. They left them alone. I happened to do it one time. I went and got a ball signed by him because obviously he was one of my favorite players growing up. And Garrett's like, "You're like one of the only people who actually know who I am." I said, "Well, because I'm a baseball fan. I know who you are in a way." But people learned to leave them alone. And that's why I said, though, earlier on, can we please, in a way, let Marcus Freeman, let Garrett Anderson, and let people who have children in college, for example, Nick, I got to announce for Deion Sanders' daughter at Alabama A&M last year, and LeVar Arrington's daughter during the college volleyball season. And, both of their moms came because, LeVar was doing, radio, and, of course, Deion was coaching at Colorado. And, I even got to announce for Laura Stockton, John Stockton's daughter, my first year at USD 9 years ago. And everybody left John alone. Nobody went to go get autographs from him or any of this stuff. They're there to watch their kids play. If you're nice, maybe, as I always say about WWE performers, if you're nice to them, maybe they'll actually sign for you or get a picture with you. But on that, let them be and let them watch their kids play the game at a high level. It's as simple as that. I know it's tough to do, but please, let's make it stop.
Well, we've talked about this before where, who was it? Was it, I can't remember the name of the wrestler who was out, and he refused to sign autographs because he was out with his family. We talked about it.
Oh, there's a few of them that have done that.
No, but I forgot who it was. I think it's the one with the ponytail. I can't remember his name. But it was just a bad situation. And of course, then you have people like Conor McGregor who will bluntly say, "What are you selling it for?" as I'm signing it. So he'll play and joke with it, but I think that's more of the reason why people don't want to sign public, because Portnoy has said it for years, where Dave Portnoy will say, "Well, they're just autograph seekers. They want to sell my stuff." I believe him.
I do too. And to the WWE point, Nick, that's essentially why people like Kevin Owens have said, "I'm not signing at an airport because I know damn well within the next 10 minutes it's going to be on eBay somewhere or at a card show next week." That's why I've heard, though, some talent who have even wrote on their social platforms like Jey Uso and CM Punk, for example.
I think it was Uso, now that you say it.
Because Jay said on his IG story, 11 times over Survivor Series weekend in my backyard at Petco Park around downtown San Diego, Jay had people tap him on the backside, on the back, or, chase him down Fifth Avenue wanting autographs from him. And he basically said, where is my privacy? But it's why sadly, it's why a lot of these athletes wear hoods around town so no one knows who they are.
It's a good point. It's tough. For me, I was a memorabilia collector growing up, but I would never go chase somebody down for it. You know what I mean?
Here's another one that Christy said. I remember very well about Rhea Ripley criticizing fans for wanting someone like her to sign autographs at the airport while she's waiting for her flight. Again, Kevin Owens said the same thing. CM Punk said the same thing. Jey Uso said the same thing. I know that one of them even said, as long as you're nice to me, you're not coming up behind me and trying to tackle me or whatever. If you're patiently waiting and you're nice, hey, my name's so-and-so, can I get an autograph, please? Then they'll actually sign for you.
Right. I mean, airports are tough because you feel like you're just trying to go from place to place. They travel How many days out of the year would you say they probably travel out of the year?
They're traveling left and right, for God's sakes. Yeah.
Like, they don't want to be bothered. Let them be. Some travel with their family, so then it feels like a violation of privacy.
For example, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch do have a daughter off screen, and she usually travels with mom and dad wherever they go usually.
That's who it might have been. It might have been Seth Rollins, now that I'm thinking about it. Because we did a story on it, and like one of them turned around and said, "Hey, like, leave me alone. I'm not doing this when I'm out on the street. Like, I don't appreciate that." And I don't disagree.
Yeah,
like,
and that also went to a point, and we're tying this in, though, folks, to Marcus Freeman again being exonerated from a potential assault charge at his son's wrestling meet about a week or so ago in the greater Wisconsin or Indiana area. But Nick, like I said, though, I think on the lounge on Monday, because Christy, we were talking about the prices for the national title game being about $4,000 on next Monday. And I remember Christy bringing up about how TKO, who now runs WWE and UFC, how they have priced the average wrestling fan, like you and me, for example, just as an example, they have priced us out of going to an event in San Diego or at MSG, at UBS, or anywhere around town, for example. And I remember saying, though, I went in, around this time, January of last year, and I remember I had to be up at like 9 a.m., showered and ready to go down to the arena at 10 o'clock in the morning because my friends wanted to see if they could meet any talent. Like I said, we met referee Charles Robinson. We met Meechin, who's a female superstar. And those are the only two people who I recall actually being like, "Hey, I'll sign for you guys. I'll take photos with everybody." And that was, obviously Charles Robinson's been a legendary referee, nicest guy out there. I have a picture of him raising my hand like I had just won the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, you were saying
cool.
that. Yeah.
And, Meechin was very, very cool. But you would see other talent come in, though, and to Nick's long gripe, yeah, they're in character all the time. Go and sign for the people. And they weren't doing that because they were pre-recording all the B-roll of them walking in for the segments during the show, and I remember, though, best when I went, years ago, they actually had the rock concert pyro to kick off the show. This was just Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett walking in from the arena club, the arena bar downstairs to start off the show. But even then, Meechin and Charles Robinson, they're just out there amongst the people like we were family to them. Charles would go and make his rounds. Meechin made her rounds. Some of them would wave if they were baby faces, they would, turn and wave to us. The heels, obviously, like Dom and JD and the Judgment Day, hey, right here, get out of our faces. Again, the next long point, stop living, stop being in character. But, I think there is a fine line, though, that we all kind of in a way need to remember, especially in a public space, like a airport, for example. Let them be, please.
But that's my gripe because Liv Morgan is another one who doesn't turn it off when she's in and out of the ring.
Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, or Dom is also there. There's three right there.
If you don't want to be bothered, then turn the character off when you're not in the ring.
Yes.
I just, I don't know. By the way, we got some news updated for NFL playoff coverage, by the way, for CBS.
What do we got?
So Kyle Long and Kirk Cousins will join the NFL Today for CBS Sports postseason coverage alongside JB, Coach, and Nate. Saturday, January 17th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time for the divisional game, and Sunday, January 25th at 1 p.m. Eastern time on site at the AFC Championship game.
Is that being done in wake of Matt Ryan going to work for the Falcons?
Yeah.
I figured.
Kirk Cousins. You like that? You like that?
What's the better line? You like that, or who do you think you are? I am.
Oh, that's tough. Well, no. Who do you think you are? I am went viral for forever. That one will always be number one. But
it was, by the way, it was funny to hear Gary Thorne calling bowling on ESPN.
I mean, that's because they didn't have a lead guy at the time.
Strike to claim it. A strike would claim it, and he got it.
That made no sense either in the moment. I feel like he was calling a football game or a hockey game.
Stanley Cup Finals or Orioles game on Masson.
I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Yes, damn it, yeah. Who do you think you are?
Oh, my goodness. All right, Nick, we're about 4 weeks away, less than 4 weeks away now from the Milan Cortina Olympics. And, of course, Nick, we're going back to Arena Armageddon for the hockey event with less than 4 weeks to go until the Olympic Games in Milan Cortina. The Milano Santa Gallia Ice Hockey Arena is still very much a construction site. A test event last weekend involving Italian hockey teams featured a large hole in the ice forming in front of a goal during play. Now, while both the International Ice Hockey Federation, or the IIHF, and the NHL remain cautiously optimistic about the arena and the event going on as scheduled, the locker rooms are currently in a temporary structure outside the building, with seating capacity being cut from 14,000 to 11,800 seats because certain sections will not be finished in time, bringing back painful memories for me of the Brazilian-hosted World Cup in 2010. League officials in the NHL have warned that they will not send players, though, if the ice surface is deemed to be unsafe and unplayable. Nick, does the recurring last-minute construction crisis in Olympic host cities like this prove, though, that the IOC needs to move towards a permanent rotation of existing ready-to-use venues or ready-to-go countries like the U.S., for example?
They can't do that because they don't. The host country rotates every winter and every summer, so there's no way they're going to be able to automatically anchor to a rotation of countries. But if they knew this was happening, why didn't they prepare sooner to make sure the ice was ready for the event?
This whole thing, Nick, has just been a massive flashpoint regarding the Olympics. Again, we're about 4 weeks, less than that now, away from the game starting. Opening ceremonies are on the 6th, and I believe the men start play in the tournament on the 11th.
It's not going to be ready.
You have a 5-day buffer from the torch being lit to playing game 1 of the tournament for men's hockey.
There's no way this is going to be ready.
With that.
You were telling me over the last 2 days that like there's ice melting and spot showing up, and I think I asked you, like, could they sink into the ice if it melts enough?
It's possible. I mean, literally, not just that, Nick. People have been clowning the projections, the projector-style scoreboard that you can run off of a Windows laptop like mine, that they have over center ice, and it's like maybe as big as our whole box here on PR. Like the whole operation has just been botched beyond repair, literally and figuratively. And the reason, by the way, for that ice crater happening, Nick, is because of the fact the refrigeration system that actually keeps the ice frozen has been faulty since they have begun building this arena.
And again, I think I asked you also, why are they playing in a new built arena? That doesn't make sense either.
That isn't even ready to go yet.
Like, if you knew you had to build a new arena, why didn't you do it very far in advance? Knowing that it had to be tested, knowing the refrigeration had to be tested, knowing the temperature had to be tested, knowing that everything had to pass Olympic-style ruling plus NHL-style ruling. I would just close up shop and call it a day. This is not going to be ready.
So, Nick, per the reports and courtesy of our trusty robot friends at Google Gemini, because Nick, it is official, there is no plan B. You can't go to a new arena and play these games, or a different venue in Italy to play the hockey tournaments for both men's and women's hockey. But, Nick, as of right now, the official word from Olympic organizers in the NHL is that there is no plan B. Official Olympic officials, including Adriana Francisi, the chief games operations officer for Milan Cortina, has explicitly stated that there is no alternative venue equipped to host the Olympic hockey tournament if the arena is not ready or deemed to be unsafe. Now, if the ice conditions or arena safety issues prevent the NHL from sending players to Italy, the likeliest of outcomes would happen. First one would be the no-go scenario. NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly has been blunt. If the ice is not ready and not safe, then we are not going. The result would mean if the NHL does pull out, the Olympic tournament would proceed without NHL talent, much like in 2018 and 2022. National teams would have to build rosters using players from Europe, like the KHL, SHL, DEL, and even amateur or minor league ranks like the American Hockey League to have the tournament still go off without a hitch. The NHL would likely revert to a standard regular season schedule, filling the 15-day Olympic break with postponed games or simply allowing players to rest, as there is currently no alternative World Cup-style tournament ready to be launched on such short notice. So I wonder, though, Nick, if that actually happens, could the league have a fallback plan to revive a small version of the All-Star game that was supposed to be held at UBS Arena on Long Island?
They can't, because I don't think they were prepping to have that situation figured out. So I don't think they're going to be able to have an all-star game. Maybe they could move the schedule up, possibly, and play those regular season games that maybe they were pushing back to delay later in the schedule.
I believe, just from the Anaheim Ducks perspective, they're going to go without games from February 3rd at home against Seattle to, I believe, February 25th between games.
That's a long time.
That's 22
days. 22.
Yeah, 22 days.
That's the start of my birthday till the end of the month. Like, I don't know. I don't see how that works, but just play the damn games. I don't think it's. I first of all, if I'm the NHL GMs, team GMs, or the owners, I'd say
I'm kind of horrified right now at this rate. If I'm a GM with any organization,
I would just be like, nope, done. Like, this is like the WBC controversy all over again, where the GMs and the owners are saying, hey, we just gave you hundreds of millions of dollars. You don't think they've learned from the Edwin Diaz situation that maybe they shouldn't be sending players to the World Baseball Classic, which I think it is a World Baseball Classic year this year?
It is.
So think about all the players that are going. I think Mike Trout's going again this year.
Nick, there is two more options. Option B would be the IIHF and the IOC pivot. While there is currently no Plan B stadium in Milan, the International Ice Hockey Federation could still, though, be obligated to hold the event in a different city. Some preliminary round games are already scheduled for the Rio Ice Arena at the Milan Fairgrounds. While this rink could be theoretically take on more games, it does not have the capacity or infrastructure to replace the 15,000-seat Santa Gallia Arena as the premier medal round venue. There has been some speculative chatter about moving the ice hockey event to nearby cities with existing world-class arenas like Zurich or Munich. But Olympic organizers have repeatedly dismissed this, insisting that the games will still be in Milan, Italy.
Well, if that's the case, if they're not willing to be open to safer scenarios.
Which, in a way, this leads me to the 2028 Olympics, Nick. Softball is going to be played in Oklahoma City, not in Los Angeles in 2 years.
Well, that's not the first time we've seen that.
Yeah, not the first time, but still, like, that could be a thing that they probably should do, need to do, keep as a backup plan in case that this rink is not going to be up to snuff in 4 weeks.
Right. And I don't know. I think they're just doing the softball and stuff in Oklahoma City, regardless of what country.
I think there's one more event in Oklahoma City. I think it's the canoe slalom, I think, is going to be there too, I want to say.
No, but you were just mentioning softball. Like, softball is done in Oklahoma City. That's where it's always been done, regardless of where the Olympics are, because it made the most sense for the weather and made most sense for getting the teams there and all that stuff. The only thing that's really done in the countries are like the actual events, like the major event. Everything else is done like for the summer. Like, remember some of the stuff was done in Hawaii, like when they did the surfing and all that stuff that they were doing.
Oh, no, in Paris they did the surfing in Tahiti, I think. Tahiti or Fiji, yeah.
Which is nowhere near where they were.
Paris,
it was like another world distance-wise compared to where they were.
Yeah, and for example, the surf event in 2 years will be here in San Diego County at Trestles up by the San Diego-Orange County border. Nick, the last idea, though, would be some emergency fixes. The NHL has already sent their own ice specialists and technicians to Milan to consult on the construction. Their backup plan is not a different location, but rather a all-hands-on-deck effort to fix the surface. They could perhaps compress the neutral zone to deal with the fact that the Milan rink is roughly 3 feet shorter than the standard 200-foot-long NHL length. Both the league and the IIHF have agreed to shorten the neutral zone rather than play offensive zones to preserve the NHL style of the gameplay and also monitor the rink 24/7. That's all I'm going to probably have to do.
That doesn't make any sense either, though, because it doesn't fix the refrigeration temperature issue.
All the other problems, exactly.
So where is it on the ice? Do we know?
Regarding where the hole has been, I believe that the issue or the place, I'm trying to remember. I think it's like in one offensive zone by where the Zamboni entrance would be to come out and do their rounds during intermission.
So then the shortening of the ice would mean nothing because you
It
didn't
means nothing,
in the
exactly.
middle of the ice.
Yeah.
Don't go. That would be my opinion of this whole thing. Unfortunately, I know hockey fans are going to be pissed off, but like, would you rather have your NHL players ready and healthy to make a run in the NHL playoffs and potentially win a Stanley Cup, or do you want them to go play in the Olympics? Country.
And I think, sadly, Nick, that it would be country first. Stanley Cup is at the bottom of the barrel because, as we saw during the Four Nations face-off last year, these guys take wearing that jersey, and I'm trying to get this point across to you know who, because a bunch of players on their team got named to national teams, as did my organization. Guys and players value USA on the jersey, the maple leaf of Canada, the three crowns of Sweden. They value that more than the logo of their NHL franchise because it means more to them to represent their country on a global stage more than playing for the Stanley Cup.
Excuse me. And I'm not disagreeing with that. Let me be first and foremost about that. But if it's not safe to play,
yeah, you don't want to run the risk of injury.
Trust me, I'm all for Team USA and seeing them win and all that stuff. And I love watching the Olympics every 2 years. But if it's not safe to play, are you willing to risk the health of the players to have potentially like major career-ending injuries over it?
I wonder when the red button gets hit by the NHL and they say, we can't get this stuff fixed. We're not going. Like there's got to be a deadline. Like I'd say within the next week or two.
When is the first game?
I believe I think the first game is on the 11th of February.
We're less than a month away. How have we not hit the button yet?
Yeah. How have we not done that? Exactly.
And also you're forgetting all the traveling that has to be done to get there, the training, because a lot of times for all these sports, regardless of whatever sport it is, don't you go like a week or two in advance to kind of play on the ice or play on the court?
Nick, I misspoke.
What?
Hockey starts the day before opening ceremonies on February 5th with the women's tournament starting. You got to hit it now. If you're the NHL, you've got to hit it now. I mean, there's no more time wasting. No.
No, you know what? I'll do it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's your button. You're not playing. 5th? February 5th? It's less than a month.
So I was right partially. The men do start on the 11th, Nick. The women's preliminaries begin on February 5th through the 10th.
Okay, but it's still the 5th.
It still is the 5th.
We're less than a month away from them playing games, and it's not ready.
No.
So how are you supposed to play if the ice is not ready?
I don't know. I mean, they definitely need to figure something out. And I don't know what that would entail when it comes to what they can do. But looking over the schedule, though, the women's tournament begins the 5th. The men begin on the 11th, and it runs all the way till the 22nd.
I would say no. I would say no. I would say don't play and protect the players. Yeah, agreed. I don't get how you go and play. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. And I don't know what remedies they could do. I mean, you would have to. I mean, if you're going to go that route, though, of, say, no NHL players, now we have to build brand new rosters with minor league guys from my league and the American Hockey League, the ECHL, European leagues who are close by to play for their country. I mean, anything to salvage it. I mean, there's no right or wrong. I mean, there's no right answer here. You know, the right answer is no go, hard stop. We'll figure out what to do with that, you know, with those days off. Maybe Nick, it's just one long all-star break with no games until the Olympic Games are actually over.
Just get back to playing the regular season. It's not worth risking these guys' injuries, dealing with it. Just play the games. Maybe give them an extra break before the playoffs start.
Yeah.
And that way everyone's on an even playing field.
I mean, Nick, I am kind of the belief, though, that I wonder that, obviously the NHL probably didn't foresee this happening, but you at least, though, would have wondered if there was an issue that popped up, though, in some way, that you would have like a plan B regular season schedule where if, like, for some reason we don't send guys to the if the NHL doesn't go to the Olympic Games, you would at least have another schedule ready for February, whether or not the ice is ready or not, like just in general.
I don't know. This is a tough one. Everyone's going to say, go play for your country. You do whatever. You would take a bullet for your country. It's not if it's going to hurt you.
Not if it leads to a season-ending ACL injury. All right, Nick, this one is also in hockey and has also in a way been a focal point of controversy, whether you want to agree with it or not. But, Nick, recently a mites on ice intermission scrimmage game at a Hershey Bears game in the American Hockey League on January 10th went viral for all the wrong reasons when a massive brawl erupted among players aged 8 years and under. So badly, Nick, that both the Atlantic Amateur Hockey Association, or the AAHA, officially categorized the melee as a stage fight involving the Central Penn Panthers Youth Ice Hockey Club. Video footage showed players, including goaltenders, abandoning their goal to dogpile, throw punches, and tackle one another while the crowd at Giant Center erupted in lusty joy. The AAHA did clarify that the event was not sanctioned by USA Hockey and has promised disciplinary action against all but team officials involved in this thing, while the Bears released a scathing statement as well, though, noting that the display of staged truancy did not reflect the values of the sport and hinted that future intermission games could be suspended until stricter safeguards are established. Now, Nick, is this decision to stage a line brawl between 8-year-olds for the sake of social media engagement a sign that youth sports is losing its moral compass to the clicks and clout era? Or are the governing bodies and the team overreacting to what was intended to be a lighthearted parody of a pro hockey game for kids who are 8 years old?
I mean, really? You staged a fight between teams of 8-year-olds? Like, just think about that statement for a second. I mean, what? Help me, because you know the youth hockey scene a little better than me. How does this make any sense?
Well, more importantly, Nick, how is this any different, though, than Pee Wee versus mascots at halftime of a football game?
Because people know that's going to happen.
Precisely.
Like, people are going to say, well, it's staged. Doesn't that mean that's going to happen? No. Well, the only thing that staged means is that they knew it was going to happen. That's what stage means.
Look, I have worked my whole pro career of 18 years as an announcer within the hockey space in San Diego. Yes, the sun is beaming in. We actually play hockey out here, folks. Don't get it twisted. but Nick, I've been at the junior level and at the American Hockey League level. And thankfully, though, whenever we do have youth hockey teams come and play during a intermission of a Gulls game, they usually only do a shootout or they play like a half ice or a full ice game. But in the 10 years I've been there, we've never had something like this break out. And I shared the video across social media, obviously as I do, because I thought it was funny that it's 8-year-old kids playing at a professional hockey arena in their hometown and just in a way having fun like Nick, any other 8-year-old team would do when it comes to being, on the ice or on the field during halftime of a football game, and they're having a good old time out there or whatnot at this rate. And I remember, sharing it, and obviously the video, as I said, has gone viral. I do want to read a couple of comments because Jared Ronsky, who is the PA announcer for the Hershey Bears, he flat out condemned it. And I give him, and I see why, though. He works for the organization. He also does a lot of youth hockey announcing for the Capitals across DC, Maryland, Pennsylvania, you name it. So I get why he said what he said. But I also had seen a few other comments. And again, I'm going to read it here. Just give me 1 second here. So the first comment, Nick says, I love it. Kids are soft nowadays. Everyone needs to know what it feels like to get punched in the face and be able to deliver a blow himself. Hashtag hands. Another one said, famous bumper sticker back in the 70s, be kind to animals, feed a hockey player, or hockey making Dennis rich since 1880. And Jared Ronsky said, this happened in my game, not cool, didn't like it. So again, I can see, though, where both parties are coming from, though. Hey, kids are soft nowadays. Man up. Go out there and fight somebody, defend for yourself. But I also see, though, hey, 8-year-olds, though, this shouldn't be happening, though. I just think, though, Nick, we're going a little bit overboard here, though, by wanting to punish the kids, though, for what happened at any other halftime event of like a basketball game, mascot, stiff-arming, Okay, how is a mascot, a grown adult like you and me, wearing the blooper costume for the Braves, and him stiff-arming an 8-year-old football player? How is that crap any different than this crap that happened in Pennsylvania over the weekend?
Well, here's the problem. People don't know, again, for people who don't understand the word staged, the only thing that the word staged means is the organization and the teams. Now, from the statement you read, it sounded like the Hershey Bears organization didn't know that these fights were going to be staged. How do you not know what's going on in your own arena, that you're responsible for everything that goes on in the arena? Tell me how that...
I'm trying to find the Bears statement about the fight.
I thought, well, you said they condemned the fight and all that stuff.
I'm trying to find the full statement that the team had written.
Right, because if they condemned the fight, that makes it sound like they didn't know what was going on in their arena that day, doesn't it?
Correct.
It's your arena. You control what these teams, these kids, what the liabilities that go on between the two teams. If they condemn it, that means they didn't know.
Yes.
That's a problem. So
I'm not seeing anything right now. Give me keep going. Give me a second.
Well, just forget that for a second. Just answer my question of, wouldn't that be odd that if you're condemning a fight, that it sounds like you're kind of aloof of what's going on in your own arena?
Yeah, you would think so.
And I think you got to blame the Bears partially for this too. I think you do.
I think you do as well. Because
they're trying to act like, oh, well, I didn't know what the two teams are going to do. Blah. Yeah. A stage fight is a stage fight. It doesn't matter if you knew about it, you didn't know about it. It's a fight that happened on the ice with 8-year-olds. So, yeah, I'm not actually seeing a statement from the Bears. I do know that the AAHA did write a lengthy statement, though, condemning what had gone on, though, with the fight between the kids, though. I mean, I don't know. The whole thing, I just think, though, is getting blown out of proportion for all the wrong reasons. I mean, again, I understand, though, that there might be punishment coming, though. When it comes to the coaches of the team, it wasn't sanctioned by USA Hockey. Again, this was literally kids of the same age group from the same. Here's the thing, though. This is the same organization who sent their kids. This wasn't like it was a game between one team versus another team and the fight broke out. It was teammates of the same organization having fun during intermission of a pro hockey game. All right, wait. I think I found more of the statement, actually. So the original part you read was what occurred during Saturday's youth scrimmage involving one team split into two sides. Okay, you're not helping yourself by saying that.
Yeah, so it's one team and they paired off 5-on-5 or whatever. So it's team A, team B of the same organization.
Okay, but that's not helping your case.
Correct.
Held during an intermission of a Hershey Bears game did not reflect the values of the sport or the standards we expect when young athletes are on the ice. Hockey must always be played within the rules with safety as a top priority. It goes on to say the Hershey Bears do not have a role in the inter-squad scrimmage play other than providing the ice for the players. The team's coaches direct and supervise the play on this. Come on, man. Are you serious?
I think technically it would be up to technically who would be liable would be the coaches of the team, not the arena or the franchise.
This says the Atlantic Amateur Hockey Association said mites on ice is intended to be 8.5 minutes of fun on the ice with players falling, chasing the puck in a pack, and showcasing the best part of our game, having fun.
But hockey culture has been known for fighting, sadly.
Okay, but they admitted afterwards it was staged.
Yeah, which I don't understand.
First of all, have you ever heard of you don't admit the quiet part out loud?
All the time.
That's admitting the quiet part out loud. But why are you staging a fight?
I just think, Nick, we're reaching for straws here. Again, I can understand, though, hey, you're, start teaching them young to defend themselves. People got to get smacked up the head a couple times. I get that part. Hey, it's not cool. The organization is better than that. Like I said, though, the Bears aren't liable, though, for what happened, it sounds like, in that statement, because it sounds like the jurisdiction now falls on the coaching staffs and the organization who had the kids on the ice, though, from what you had just read, it sounds like.
Okay, but we're missing one thing here. It's being done in a professional arena.
Correct.
So who's responsible for that professional arena?
The team who's playing there.
Okay, and that is?
The Hershey Bears.
Okay, so if someone gets hurt and there's a liable situation, who is that falling on?
The team in the arena.
Okay, so even though, and of course, I love when they blame the AAHA and blame them, but like, you allowed the teams to go on. Now, I'm curious if they had to sign liability waivers.
Oh, I know firsthand, though, when they do play at my games, anyone coming onto the ice, Nick, even the group ticket people who come out and
the honoree. Yeah.
No, for group ticket nights or for group sales, one of the perks is you get to come on the ice when the game's over for a group photo. Everybody has to sign a waiver. As you were saying, liability, releasing liability or whatnot.
Do they put carpet down?
What was that?
Do they put carpet on the ice to allow them to go out there?
Nope. You get to walk on the ice as it's after the game's over.
How do you do that without falling?
Yeah, you'd be amazed.
I'd be terrified to walk out on the ice.
Well, thankfully, when you walk out when the game's over, it's all chewed up, and the Zamboni hasn't come out to clean it and then resurface it. So it's all
it dries, right?
Yeah, it's like walking on snow, basically. When it does snow back in New York.
Oh,
it's not as slippery though.
See, I would have been terrified to walk out on ice, like the real ice.
That's why I don't really walk. I waddle like a penguin.
Do people go out on the ice and hold on?
Because I have to wear these tonight. So you know what? Just because, Nick, I will get video for you of me walking the ice tonight.
I want to see, because I'd be do you get people when they walk out on the ice, they go and hold on to the side of the...
Yes and no.
That would be me. That would be me the whole time. Just not wanting to bust my ass. I would just hold on to the side. Trust me, that would be cool to walk out on the hockey.
Oh no, trust me though. If I'm late and I happen to be going to get on the ice when the Zamboni is out there and it's obviously wet and it's like at least a good inch or two thick of water that they use to resurface the ice.
Jesus,
I that's when I will hold the handrail to get out to where I got to go.
Is there a railing on the inside of it, or is it on the outside of it?
No, you literally just use the top of the dasher boards to walk like it's a cane.
I'm saying. Yeah, if that were me, I'd be terrified. I'd be holding onto the side of the rink the whole time trying to get around. I'm like, no,
because how our arena was built, the entrances are both in the same spot So I have to go through through our tunnel, the home tunnel, to get in and out. But then after the game, because the ice is so chewed up, I could just head diagonally across from the penalty box to the visiting teams.
Do they have connections behind if you want to walk around it?
No, not with how the arena was built back in the 60s. It wasn't built that way. Yeah.
I'm assuming the new ones probably have backlog.
Oh yeah, they all do. Yeah. Every arena almost every arena now is built that way, basically.
Because if you have to rush to somewhere, you're not running through the ice. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, I sadly have to because we have no way to go to the concourse to use the bathroom. I got to go and walk on the ice, get off of it, use the bathroom underneath by the arena bar, and then come back and then go.
That's probably scary. When you have to go to the bathroom and you're trying to quickly get through the ice.
I get a good I'd say probably 5 to 7 minute break to use the restroom and then come back and get back to work usually.
Yeah, you have to be careful. have you ever had a situation like where the players are back and you've had to walk through, or no?
No, thankfully not. By the time I get off the ice, they're already back in the locker room with about roughly, I'd say, 14 minutes left to go until the next period does begin.
That makes sense. I would just be terrified to walk on the ice because I know myself. Like I tried like when I was in camp as a kid many years ago, like to do skating, not ice, like actual like roller blading, I guess.
Right.
And I went to stand up and I fell in a pretzel. Like literally my 2 feet fell like in a folded pretzel. And I said, nope, done.
Never again.
Not doing that again. That hurt too. Like,
oh, don't worry. I still have the scar on my pinky from 25 years ago when my dad skated over my pinky with the ice skate. My first time going out on the ice.
Ow.
And it's still there.
Does that hurt?
Yeah, it does.
Did it like open and bleed?
Yeah, it did. It was like a very, I don't know, you really can't tell, sadly, but yeah, it's right there.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. Wow.
It's very, very little.
Wow. That's a decent size scar.
Yeah. Thankfully, I just got a bandage and went right back out there and did it all by myself.
Oof.
All right, Nick, let's move away from hockey back to the NFL. The ongoing officials crisis continues to grip the football landscape. This year's season, Nick, has been marred though for its pacing, for its highest viewership in a decade. But the on-field product, though, is being increasingly overshadowed by a crisis of refereeing and officials and flags being thrown. Both fans and even broadcasters have noted a surge in ticky-tack penalties, particularly defensive holding and pass interference, that they are systematically stripping the game of its natural flow and rhythm. Analysts like both Troy Aikman and Chris Collinsworth have become more vocal on air, often expressing visible frustration as big plays are frequently followed by a penalty-heavy pause while the broadcast is forced to wait for an official's confirmation before a team can celebrate. Social media sentiment shows that fans are also suffering from what they call flag fatigue, where the expectation of a penalty has replaced the excitement of a play itself. Furthermore, with the current CBA between the NFL and the Referees Association running out in May of this year, the league is reportedly pushing for a performance-based model and more accountability for crews that consistently miss high-leverage calls. Nick, if the NFL continues to see record-breaking ratings despite widespread dissatisfaction with the referee crews, does the league office have any real financial incentive to overhaul the system, or have the controversial calls simply become a valuable part of the league's 24/7 social media engagement long-term strategy in your mind?
The refs have been the news cycle forever. Oh, he missed that call. He missed that holding. He missed that pass interference. He missed a roughing the passer. It shouldn't have been a touchdown. His knee was down. I don't know. Have I missed any of the calls they normally make during a game? No, I don't think so.
Either.
But the refs, like whenever a game is close and you see a call that determines a game, it's always going to be, well, should the refs have made that call? Should they have made pass interference? Was it a face mask? Was it a holding? I thought NFL Wildcard Weekend was, no pun intended, wild. Like, it was great. It was great football. I can't think of very many calls that were bad during the Wildcard Weekend. I actually think they did a really good job for the Wildcard Weekend. All the games were great. Somehow the NFL gets it right. Again, and the game that everyone thought was going to be shit was the Rams-Panthers game because of the 10.5-point spread.
Right.
Even though I had said I thought the Panthers would cover, which they did, and the Rams won. But, like, Packers-Bears was great until I shouldn't say great. It was kind of slow, and then the Bears had to make a record-setting comeback in the fourth quarter.
Until the Bears actually woke up from hibernation.
Right. But for the most part, every game was pretty competitive. There was no bad calls. I can't think of very many that weren't made. If you want my actual opinion of it, I would say there were more bad calls made during the college football playoffs than there were during the NFL. Like, I think they missed a pass interference in the end zone in one game in the college football playoff.
Miami versus Ole Miss.
I think that changed the game. Now, the pass interference rule is treated differently in college football than it is in the NFL. In the NFL, the pass interference is the spot of the foul. Meaning, if you throw a 50-yard pass and you commit a pass interference wherever that ball lands, that's where the ball goes.
Right.
In college football, it's automatically a 15-yard penalty from the throwing spot, which I don't understand why they do that.
It is a little weird.
It should be the same. So basically, you're null and voiding.
Null and void, yeah.
Basically, a deep throw, and you're basically saying, "Hey, you could commit pass interference because it's only going to be 15 yards." In college football, you're better off committing pass interference than at that rate.
Almost like the old days of Hack-a-Shack, almost in a way.
Mm.
Kind of, sort of.
That's more with a lead, though, than anything. But in the NFL, you get screwed if you commit pass interference because you could throw a ball from the other side of the 50, and if you hit the 1 yard line on a deep throw and you commit pass interference, it goes to the 1.
Right. I don't know, Nick. I mean, I think every sport, though, deals with their share of bad calls and stuff. And, the referees are human, and they're not going to get everything correct, sadly, or what have you. Now, obviously, when I don't work hockey, I usually watch it, and I get a different perspective watching on television. Like I watched the Ducks and the Stars on TNT last night, and Wes McCauley, who I think everybody knows out there for being one of the best NHL referees out there, was the lead referee of the game between the Stars and Ducks at the Honda Center last night. But when I go to a game and watch as a fan, when I'm not, in the glass case of emotion in the penalty box watching those games, because I get a front row seat, obviously, though, but I do lose sight of the gameplay when they're in the corners where I sit because I'm right against, one part of the rink, and it's tough to see, the corner to my left and the corner to my right. So I have to watch on the Jumbotron. And sometimes I'll get screened by the linesman, so I'll have to watch on the Jumbotron as well. But when I watch on television, though, I seem to be able to pick up penalties a little bit quicker on TV with the television perspective more than I would from my viewpoint, being down in the box usually because, you have the better angle of like, hey, there's a hook, there's a slash. Like there was one play last night where I'm watching the game, and there was like a genuine like actual slash. I'm like, how is it not called? I mean, I know he got the puck, but just the motion and that the referees are even told now, you see anyone go for the hands of the guy with the puck, it's an automatic, like, you better make the call because, that could break a guy's hand, that could break a guy's wrist, that obviously could break someone's stick.
That's like the illegal low block in the NFL or blindside block, which they're calling more now, or, what's it called? Defenseless receiver is another one that they don't call enough, in my opinion, because sometimes a receiver doesn't see a defender deep down the field when they're running.
And I'll say that college football has gotten that right to a degree when it comes to the targeting rule in college football.
Now, okay, I'll ask that question now that you brought that up. Do you think targeting needs to be a form of targeting in the NFL?
I think there should be.
But what would it be, though? Because technically you're allowed to get away with more aggressive hits in the NFL.
I mean, could it be a form of unnecessary roughness?
But I'm saying what would be considered... Well, we already have an unnecessary roughness penalty if you purposely hit somebody. So I guess the form of targeting in college football is unnecessary roughness, I guess.
I would think so. And I think it would have to be a similar criteria like there is in college football.
Well, they did change the rules now that if you get a personal foul, if you get 2 personal fouls,
you're out of the game.
I think you get ejected. I don't love that, so to speak.
I don't either. I get it, though, but it's like, no.
Because what happens if, like, you're in the heat of the moment in a game, and, like I said this before, fights happen.
Yes.
In the NBA, like, we're too soft with the whole Dennis Schröder now. That was off the court. Maybe that's a more dangerous situation. But I'm tired of when refs in the NBA are handing out technicals like their ticket quota, like a police officer. Like, oh, you get a tech and you get a tech. It's Oprah.
Okay, Joey Crawford, we get it.
Oh, it's like it's Oprah. You get a tech and you get a tech and everybody else in the crowd gets a tech. I mean, if Joey Crawford was still officiating, he would tech the crowd.
He'd have at least 2 techs for sure. Every game he'd be doing.
He would tech the crowd if he could.
Oh,
I mean,
he would tech the PA announcer for looking at him the wrong way, for God's sakes.
And that's the problem. Like, well,
you would have gotten a tech for looking at him the wrong way.
Probably. But what was the other one? The joke that we talk about all the time. Oh, Angel Hernandez at the Cubs game.
Yes.
That whole incident with, what was that, with the PA? Or
yes.
where he made a joke about when they played Three Blind Mice, which I still think is funny to this day.
You're done.
And he just turns around and ejects. And didn't he have him turn off the PA, which I didn't even know an umpire could do that, by the way. Did you?
I guess they have control, which is weird, but okay.
But I think sometimes officials or umpires or referees, like, we don't have enough Bill Kennedys in the world.
Get well soon, Bill. We miss you.
And by the way, if you didn't know,
Bill Kennedy, please. Pour one out for Bill Kennedy on the lounge on Monday.
Yeah, where what was it, ACL?
Strained his hamstring.
Oh, which means it's recoverable, at least. It wasn't a torn injury. We've seen him for the rest of the year. But, like, at least he could have fun doing the job. Like,
after reviewing the play.
Like, the players like him. Like, they laugh. A lot of times players don't like officials. Like, a lot of people like him, believe it or not.
Well, it's like Paul hates Scott Foster, which I understand.
Oh, Scott Foster. But I think Scott Foster has to make his name known, and that's what I think. Official Tony Brothers is another one. But
I love Tony Brothers, by the way.
He's fine, but sometimes it's a little too serious at times. But
after reviewing the play, the show is now going to move to press clipping, so I can get ready to start going to work here very soon.
Oh shit,
Nick, no surprise here, though. Along the way, though, of the Rob Manfred interview with your boy Craig Carton on WFAN, Rob Manfred did reiterate that he is indeed done as commissioner in 2029, while also still spewing BS about a MLB in-season tournament and a potential minor league-style split-season schedule format for Major League Baseball.
You know what I have to say about him being done in 2029? Okay, now that I got that out of my system. Everyone wants Rob Manfred to go. He's been terrible for baseball. He wanted to put the Yankees and the Mets. Well, I think he confirmed he's not going to do that anymore, hopefully.
Hallelujah.
But that would have made no sense. And then what did he want to do? He wanted to put the Padres, the
Angels, Dodgers, Diamondbacks in one division.
Like, oh, shit. The Angels would have gotten their lunch stolen every single day. Every single year.
Dodgers, Padres, D-backs, Angels, like 50 games out of first place.
Jesus Christ. But Rob's got to go. But before he leaves in 2029, he's got a labor dispute he's going to have to figure out at some point, especially because they want to put a salary cap in. Or wait, was it a salary cap or was it? What was
Don't say that word around Bryce Harper. He'll freaking want to beat your ass with a baseball bat.
Jesus. That story will always be funny to me. I'm not saying like you shouldn't do it. Like, don't hit somebody with a baseball bat unless they deserve it. But
Nick, let's move on though. Al Michaels confirms he'll be back for TNF on Prime Video despite turning 81 years old after a lot of calls have been made to get him off the broadcast because of his health.
Bart had a funny moment. I don't know if you heard him talking about Al Michaels when he said, just admit that you're going to
hear that. Yes.
Over under. I think Bart's right, by the way. Like, just stop saying, like, oh, like, this affects some people. Just say it. Just say what the number is. Come on now. I do think he's a little past his prime a little bit. He's been making more mistakes. They got to figure out that booth because Kirk is traveling 1,000,000 miles a week. Now, if the money's right, he's going to stay in and do it.
Actually.
Who are you doing? Who's play-by-playing for that, though?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm trying to think who would even fit that spot. Some people were saying Kevin Harlan.
That'd be something.
But he's got the NBA.
That is true.
Whereas he's number one for what?
Prime Video.
Well, him and Ian are both one, right?
I think so.
That would be tough. Well, is NBA a huge day for Thursday?
No. Thursday, I think, is ESPN ABC along with Wednesday.
Oh, so then he could probably do it.
Or Thursday might be NBA TV.
Okay, then it wouldn't matter anyway. But it'd be tough for Ian because Ian is everywhere. Like, because I think he does the Thursday night football game for Westwood One.
Yes.
I mean, they could flip them one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like, Ian could do the game and Harlan could do radio. I know Harlan does, what does he do, Monday night? I think on Westwood One?
Yeah, Monday nights on Westwood One, yes.
Prime Video would have a tough decision to make if Al Michaels did leave. Yes. Christy, I don't know. Christy, I don't know who they would put there. I mean, I'd be fine if they put Kevin Harlan. I think that would be amazing to give him his own like NFL vehicle.
I think it makes sense though.
Ian would be fine. Ian's doing too much, and then between the March Madness and regular NFL, he's already the number 2 guy for CBS, so that wouldn't make sense either.
Not at all.
So I think this is Harlan's to take.
Nick, David Cohn officially out at ESPN in wake of the ESPN reduced Major League Baseball schedule, likely to expand his role with the Yes Network for Yankee baseball.
Chalk this one up strictly to they took less games, and they're not doing Sundays anymore. That's it. There's no malfeasance. There's no I hate you, get the fuck out of here. This is literally ESPN's not doing Sundays anymore.
Nick, Serena Ionescu officially confirmed she is out for the unrivaled season due to injury.
Jeez, how many people are out on the unrivaled season? I mean, it's her. Who else was out? I don't remember.
Fee's out.
Yeah,
Collier.
Fee's out. That's right. Collier. A lot of people out. Like, and of course you get FOS or ratings are bad after week 1.
Keyword is week 1. Nick, last story for the day. Netflix now eyeing Taylor McGregor from ESPN. STOP.
Is it anything else? Is it anything else? No, it's money. They're going to probably give her, 5-6 times what she's making at ESPN?
Maybe as much as Malik or L. Duncan got, maybe?
Oh, God. I can't even imagine what L. Duncan's deal probably is. Probably in the millions. Probably.
Oh, it's got to be.
I mean, that weird... what was that weird... Or did that event come up yet that she was doing?
Which one?
The person scaling the building?
Not that I know of yet. I don't think so.
That's a weird first event to be put on for Netflix in a sports beat.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. We do have good news for next week.
We do. I think we have another guest next week.
Yeah, so we've been exploring the ISN side of this scenario. We are now going to explore the Westwood One sports side of this scenario. And that means Brad Evans, who is one of the co-hosts of BetMGM tonight, Monday through Friday, 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern time. 5 hours, Monday through Friday, is going to join us at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific next week. We're going to talk about Westwood One sports. Maybe we'll learn something from Brad, maybe to understand a little bit better of Westwood One and how they maybe, you know what? It's not that we hate people who got the jobs.
No, not at all.
I think we're more mad at the
way it happened.
The way it happened, the politicking, the gambling aspect. I'm sure he'll be able to answer our questions about how the oversaturation of gambling a little bit. We're not looking to get him fired. Let's be very clear about that. But I'd like to understand a little bit more of maybe his side of it now being on Westwood One Sports and seeing how that actually
correct.
That works. So he'll join us 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time.
The show's at 11. That's all it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It'd be good if I paid attention to our own branding.
Something along those lines.
But yes, 2 p.m. We are locked in case you didn't notice. We are now Wednesdays, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. The show does not move anymore unless there's an emergency of some sort.
Of course.
Otherwise, we are anchored into a spot so you can find us every Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time across all our ETB network platforms. Thank you to everybody who's watched. We topped over 70 live watchers, which is great. Our numbers have been up since the whole playback TV debacle. Unfortunately. Oh, I got to reach out to him too.
Brandon Towers, yes.
Are we past the month deadline on that? Yeah, we are.
Yeah, it would have been January 12th. Would have been a full month that they've been off the air.
All right. That's another one. He already guaranteed he would come on with us, so that's another one I got to go work on. myself. But we're doing very well on guests. Our best of, oh God, I'm saying best of in January. But our best of's going to have a lot of interviews already. So make sure you check us out. Make sure you follow us on social media at Press Row ETB across all social media platforms. Clips will be coming a little bit more, hopefully. Make sure you check out on our YouTube channel side, youtube.com/ETB Network, where the whole Bart Winkler interview will be up in its entirety, along with the full show. You can still find the full show. But people want to check out Bart. We talked, how many topics did we talk today? We talked what happened with Infinity Sports Network. We got into gambling. We got into how markets work based on what hours he's on. We talked about the comments that David Shepard made. By the way, that made my day. When we were playing the clip, and I didn't understand why he wasn't reacting at first. And then he's like, oh, yeah, well, Shep played it for me. I'm like, wait, whoa, what? I was like, oh, shit.
We're going places.
So, no, but that was fun. He was great. He was
awesome.
Gave us 35 minutes today. By the way, people are giving us way more time than we deserve sometimes on this show. But you know what? When you put on good interviews, you prep well, you do your homework, people want to stay longer because they're comfortable with talking during the show. But that'll do it. Like I said, Press Row is on every Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Follow us, Press Row ETB. Follow at ETB Network for our network. What's the next live show that's coming up on our platforms here?
No idea.
Is it tomorrow? No. Friday. Friday is our next live show. Football forecast, if I don't gouge my eyes out in the process for our Bears fans. But I'm going to stop babbling now because it is past 5 o'clock and we're past our time slot. So until then, he's Callan McClurg. I'm Nick Morgasen. We'll see you next week when Brad Evans from Westwood One Sports joins the show to talk about more gambling.
And more gambling.
Next show, January 21st, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, have a good day. Have a good day. What a day. What a week. And more to come this year. What a life. We will see you then.
See you next week, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a great day.